Hello, 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 hello. It is Thursday. It is Thursday, which means it's time for the last stream for this week, which doesn't mean that it's not going to be a good one. We're going to do something that we've done 2 weeks ago, which, yeah, some people might be familiar with. Today we will do the next community feedback session. We haven't done it, last week, so there have been a lot of submissions while, I guess over the 2 weeks, which means there's, we need to do another one. Today's the time for that. We have 6 submissions as far as I can count, at least from 6 different people. So we have a lot to go over. But that will be today's topic. We're gonna devote the entire stream to that. Last time we tried it, or last time we did a community feedback session, we basically also covered a different topic, and then at some point the stream just died, which I tried to fix. So yeah, today we will do the full feedback session. Yeah, and then of course the usual topic, the 30-minute quick sketch that you can see right there. We're going to do the 30-minute quick sketch in the beginning, and then we're going to go to the feedback. If you only want to see one of these topics, you can find the timestamps in the description or also in the timeline if you only want to see one of them, so that you can jump right to them. Yeah, I don't know if there's more to explain. I mean, hope you have had a great day so far. Let's go right to Blender. There you go. See, awesome, right? Oh, that's it. There you go. There you go. You can see today's quick sketch project, or today's quick sketch, I guess, subject. You can see this this skeleton king with some armor on, or some fur, and then being controlled or held together, I guess, maybe by this sort of weird, I don't know, worm monster. Yeah, this will be today's quick sketch topic, quick sketch subject. It will be interesting because there's a lot of, I guess, asymmetry in the sketch, but we'll see how far we can go. I think that's it. I'm saying too much. Okay. Yeah, I think we're ready to go to the quick sketch, so we have enough time for all the submissions. There are so many that usually we have like 3 or 4. Now we have 6, so we need to kind of, I guess, time it a little bit better to get through all of them and spend, enough time, or spend the time equally, and spend the time equally for everyone. I don't want to, I want to have as much time as possible and want to spend it as equally as possible. So I don't want to waste any time. Let's go to this quick sketch so we can get it done, and then we can go to the feedback session. There you go. We can begin in 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Well, actually, if I think about it, looking at the sketch or at the reference, I don't think we have too much asymmetry, actually. The only real asymmetry that we have is, first of all, the... Wait, what? We have the... Well, the skeleton is looking to the left, and then we have the worm looking to... Or just the worm overall is, like, asymmetric. which you know, could be interesting. But yeah, we'll see how we can do that. I don't know why, but apparently James good vibes is enough to trigger the 100 message congratulation message. Welcome back, James. Welcome back, Lilu. Are you going? How are you going? Yeah, we're gonna add the crown too. It'll be a little bit maybe more difficult, but we'll see how we can add it. First of all, let's add the eyes. Yeah, we're definitely gonna add the crown too. It just depends on how much time we have. How much time we have or can spend on it depends on how, I guess, good it will look. There you go. Push it back. Perfect. Okay, yeah. So as I said, we have 6 people that have submitted a piece, but we have even more pieces being submitted because some people have submitted 2. So we, you know, need to watch out even more how much time we spend on each piece. But you know, I'll try to stay as focused as possible and try to, you know, I'm probably gonna use the timer this time. I think otherwise it'll be hard to really track the time and kind of see how much time I have. Or, you know, I think if I want to spend as much time as possible, or for like I want to spend it equally on everyone, I think it's better to just you know, use a timer. Otherwise it'll be a little bit harder to track the time. I don't know why this stage always looks so weird. Just this smiley, this creepy smiley because of this hole in the middle. There you go. Yeah, probably just gonna use a timer. Otherwise, it'll be hard to really you know, track the time and see how much time I have for everyone. You know, I don't wanna, you know, sit there and then at the end, or I have like 2 left or so, and then I realize, well, we don't have any more time, and then, you know, that would be kind of annoying. I'll try to avoid that. Okay. There you go. Good old cheekbone. Put that in there. We're gonna extend it all the way back. We need to watch out for the skull length. I think we can push the jaw forward. It's quite long right now. There you go. Okay. I'm gonna use a new tool, or a tool that we've used once, but only recently, to actually create some holes in the skull, because otherwise it won't look like a skull. There you go. Okay. Then we have the lower part, which goes down here. Okay. The other one stays somewhere over here. Perfect. Seems weird at first, and it's almost magic. In a few times you transform it into a masterpiece. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, but I appreciate it. There you go. Let's see, I think we can pull the skull further back. Just a little bit. There you go, okay. Okay. The neck will be interesting because we can just, you know, create like a selection and drag it down. Let's open this mouth, and then we can cut a hole into it. There you go. Make a quick selection, and then we can drag it down. Oh, that's too big. That's better. Okay. Sharpen the chin. He literally has a very sharp jaw. Or what is it? Jawline. The sharpest jawline to ever exist. There you go. Okay, we need a hole here in the middle. Before we do that, oh, we probably need to pull it down even more. Wait. There you go. Pull it down even more. Otherwise, it won't really fit the worm. The worm won't fit in. There you go. Okay. We can maybe even pull up the teeth because they might be quite long right now. Just a little bit. Maybe even the nose. I think the nose is quite big right now. That's better. Okay. Okay, now that we have the hole right here, we can cut into it so we can actually have a hole. Right now it's just like an indent. We need to use the good old, which we've used I think 2 days ago. Not box trim, but lasso trim. We can then go to... Oh, we need to select a brush first because we need to disable the dynamic topology, otherwise it won't work. Then we use the... What is it called? Lasso trim. You can even go into front view if you want to. There you go. And then we can do this. That should be good enough. Because of the mirror, it'll mirror to the other side. Hopefully it won't crash. Maybe it will. I'm not sure. There it is. Perfect. Okay. We could even... should we do this? That'll be hard to do. You know what? Let's do it. There you go. The more we cut off, the less we need to sculpt or remove by sculpting. There you go. Perfect. Get back to here. Use dynamic topology. And there you go. Remove all this. I'm glad that I found the... I'm very glad, first of all, that I went through all the brushes and learned what they actually do. Because that helped me a lot in actually understanding what they're supposed to do and how you can use them. And it actually very noticeably improved, I guess, my my workflow. And I'm gonna be very happy when I finally finish the video explaining all the brushes, you know, in a video. Because I think, you know, if I can get so much value out of just researching it, imagine how much other people might get out of it. There you go. Other people share their wealth. I share my knowledge. Okay, there you go. Get the teeth. We have 21 minutes. Okay, we already wasted 10 minutes. Unbelievable. Oh. We don't need these. Do we need them? Are those teeth or are they not teeth? No, I don't think we need that long. We don't need them to be that long, so we can remove some more here. Make them nice and sharp. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good enough. We can then change the jaw shape a little bit. I also want to make it a little bit sharper here. Here and there, change some things. How you spend so much time on your art. What do you mean? Isn't it funny? What do you mean? Are you laughing? You're making fun of me? How we spend so much time on our art? Or you know, I think it's there are other things that are even weirder to spend your time on, you know? I think art is actually something, one of the more productive hobbies that you could have. You know, when you're speaking about productivity, I mean, that could help you in your life, I guess you could say. You know, if you're, I don't know, if your hobby is, I don't know, um, you know, training to do front flips on a bike, probably not that, it'll probably not be that influential on your life. I mean, you know, in maybe rare occasions, but, you know, probably not as productive than, for example, doing 3D art or 2D art. You know, you might be an accountant, but you're very interested in art. You can always, you know, I guess, once you kind of have a basic understanding of stuff, you can, you know, begin, I don't know, selling your I mean, your service or whatever, if you want to. There you go. Then meanwhile, someone is spraying paint out of there, but selling it for millions. Well, at some point they, you know, they had to start too. Doesn't mean that you can't be the one spraying paint or creating 3D art and then becoming a millionaire. You know, just means that you need to spend more time doing it. I don't even, wait. So if he leans back, where would the vertebrae be? Or the spine? Somewhere over there, right? I think so, because it's sort of connected to the skull. I think so. There you go. And then we need to go over to the neck. Neck has not that many bones actually, but we need to fill it with the worm anyway. So I'm just gonna create a normal neck here. There you go. Imagine Pablo Picasso workflow. The funniest part is when you waste the time and it doesn't save the work. Yeah, if you know, that's the worst. When you do stuff and then it crashes and you lost all your progress. Good thing about that is though, you still haven't lost everything because you still have the either memory or knowledge in your mind, so you can still recreate it faster or better even. It's of course very frustrating, but there's always sort of a positive aspect to it too. Repetition makes you better, even though it might be involuntary. Go. If I saw him started painting halfway through, I'd be like, bro, you're messing this up bad. Isn't Picasso more of a realistic painter? I can't remember, I don't know my art history. Didn't he make more realistic paintings? I can't remember. The occipital hole is in the center. Yeah, it's somewhere in the back, and then yeah, well, right in the center. But how would if you turn your back or if you look up, would the spine bend or would your head rotate backwards like this, like zip, or would it do this? That's the question right now. I think it would rotate back, right? So I think this isn't too bad, although I'm gonna leave it there. No time for considerations. Okay. That's why humans can walk on 2 legs. Super abstract. Cubism. Who? Yeah, I don't know any painter names or any artist names. So I, you know, can't really talk about any of that stuff. We didn't even have that much theory in class, actually, back in high school. We more, yeah, well, I guess that's better. That's just more fun, you know, when you're doing art in class, in school, you know, doing stuff yourself. We never really talked a lot about artists as far as I remember, or I just didn't, you know, wasn't interested in it. That could also be the case. The head looks quite big right now. Oh, well, no, that's not what I wanted. Now it's quite... I think the lower jaw is too big. I'm gonna pull it up a little bit. Da-da-da. Okay. Crazy to see the transition from old to young, how your bones change, especially your lower jaw. It basically begins being like this very, very thick bone, and then it just deteriorates more and more and more until it's just like very, very, very thin. It looks super weird. The cubism is the kind of art that Pablo Picasso created. He wanted to create a 3D impression by combining both parts of face and profile. Oh, I remember that style. Yeah. That's I remember that. Okay. So we have the vertebrae here. I don't know how many. I think you don't even have that many, but I will decide that this skeleton has that many. There you go. I don't know if these ones up here also have these weird bones right here. I think so, but they're not that prominent. There you go. And then we go to the bottom. We have the worm, which fills up the chest part. Go. And then we have the... We have the clothing. Let's add the clothing so it doesn't look too weird. I also want to make this a little bit thinner. Yeah, that's better. The eyes look so big. Hold on. I think the eyes are the problem. They look so happy. Probably because of the way that I kind of removed or created them. Okay, that's better. Maybe even move up here a little bit more. There you go. Make it a little bit more creative. A little bit more freestylish. Yeah, that... Okay. It's too wide, I think. That's the problem. Okay. I can't spend too much time on it. We have only 10 minutes left, so let's add the cloth here. The fur or whatever. It goes all the way over the shoulders, around the neck, and then down. He's famous because they sell very well his paintings, but most people think that his art is hideous. Well, but he's dead, so there's nothing more he can create, which means his art is rare, which means it has more value. Because it is unique. That's how that works. So if you want to sell a lot of art pieces, just die, and then you're good. There you go. Good old mantle. He looks bougie like no one else. Let's add the middle part here. The bone part. There you go. It goes all the way down. Perfect. Then we have the ribs. I don't know how many there are. Seems like there are quite a few. Oh. There you go. Perfect. Just an example, don't check it right now though. His top painting sold for 195 million. Nice. Yeah, I mean, you know. I wonder who gets the money then. Well, like, who owns the painting if the original artist is dead? Like do they get... I don't know. Do the children own them then afterwards, or how does that work? I wonder who was the original artist, or the original person that sold the pieces, or if... Yeah, I don't know how that works, or if they're then like what do you call it, like not Creative Commons, but they're like open to the public, which wouldn't make sense because then you wouldn't have to buy them. I don't know how that works. What is it? Kind of interesting. Okay, we need to add the crown now. Let's see. So for the crown, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just draw it out, and then we can pull it up using a mask. We only have 7 minutes left, so let's be a little bit quick with this. We don't want to spend too much time on it. There we go. Lately, there's a lot of Italian artists who sold literally nothing for 15k. He's still living. Well, you know, he can't sell air, I hope. He has to sell something, so either he's very good at marketing, or he sells something that I guess some people find valuable or interesting or whatever, or see value in. I think a lot of artists oftentimes also very much like stocks, in the sense that some people probably just buy stuff because they think the artist might get popular at some point, so they can, you know, resell the stuff. It might not seem to be valuable right now, but maybe at some point, you know, the artist might become very, very famous, and then you have one of the original pieces. Okay, good old headband. Let's add these small pieces. Okay, let's do a few more. 2 here on this side. I mean, 1 on this side and 1 on the other. Good old symmetry will help us out there. Perfect. Oh, okay, that's a big brush. There you go. Probably there's some studio, I don't know though, to be honest, just guess. They must divide the benefits unless he still owned them or wrote out a will. Yeah. Or maybe, well, yeah, I don't know how that would work. Okay. There you go. That's the crown. Doesn't look... Oh, hold on. We need one more here in the back. Zip. Perfect. Well, that's quite high, but that's okay. Grab the good old crease brush. There you go. We have... Oh, okay. 5 minutes. We need one more here on the side. Okay. I swear the project I spent the longest on gets the least likes. But I can animate the desk fan going back and forth, and bam. What are a bunch of likes if that's your favorite project? If you don't like the project, then what are a few likes? There you go. Oh, hold on. Wait, come on. There you go. Okay, invert. Grab the snakehook brush. And then... Hold on, let me grab my... Wait, I need to go to... Fall off. Set it to constant. Just because I need to have a constant fall off to be able to drag them up like this. Okay, I think that's good enough. Smooth them. Okay, we need to do that with all of them. Oh no. They're not getting sharp. Hold on. They're not... Wait. Set it to... Not sharp, but linear. I like linear more than sharp. Ah, there you go. Okay, that'll be good enough. 3 minutes, okay. Okay, one more here in the back. Good old smoothing will do the first part. And then when you grab it again, just to make it sharper. There you go. Okay, that's the crown. Isn't as compact, I guess you could say, as the original, but that's okay. I think we need to now remove symmetry. Let me just quickly finish off the coat, actually. I want to make it nice and I want to have like an end here on the side. There you go. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let's save it first, because I don't want to lose this. Who would have guessed? Hold on, wrong folder as always. Why would I always... why would I ever pick the right one? Okay. As long as you like doing your project, it should be fine. True. Okay, what is that? Why do you have horns? Okay. Oh no, I hate when I have these floating pieces. There's nothing I can do to remove them except, I guess, paint over them. Yeah, no, nice. Okay. We need to rotate the head first, otherwise we will not... we can't add the worm. So let's rotate the head first. Grab the box. What is it? Box select? Where's my box select? There it is. Perfect. Where should we... I think we need to move it up a little bit. Oh, we need to move it up just a little bit so we can rotate it on the head. Because, yeah, that's where I want to rotate it. There you go. Then we set it to... Oh, we need to grab the rotate tool. Oh, hold on. Symmetry off. There you go. And then sculpt, set pivot. Mask border. Well, that's the wrong one. Oh, we need to do one more thing. Hold on. We need to smooth it down here. So we should probably actually select all this, because then we can smooth it, which is important, because otherwise we have a very sharp edge when we rotate this. Perfect. Invert. Wait, where are you? There you are. Nope, come on. There you go. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Oh, okay. Okay, should we move it a little bit more here or here? I think so. Okay. It's not perfect, but it's better than before. Maybe the head. I think the neck is too long, actually. Let me pull it down a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely too long. That's what was weird about it. Oh, it's already over? Oh no, the worm is completely gone. Or it's not there. Well, you know what? I think we can spend a little bit more time on it. Just gonna add the worm too. That's better. Yeah, that's way better. Oh my god, I pushed it down so far. Okay, let's just add the worm real quick and then we're good. So the worm will be interesting because we... How should I add the worm actually? It's going through its mouth, but there's no basis that I can grab. Except more maybe for his top part of his mouth. But that wouldn't work because he's sitting on the lower half. Well, let's begin with the part down here. Okay. I guess we can move it around this part here. And then we can go to this part. Okay, so it's wrapping around the neck, the spine. But then, how about this? So how should we connect this? I have an idea, but I don't think it's gonna work. How... Well, does it have to be connected? That's the question. I don't think so. So what if we just select it like this, and then we invert it, and then we just grab the snakehook brush and drag it over his mouth. I mean, over his teeth. Now it looks like a tongue. Perfect. Maybe we should change the fall off to sphere. I think sphere is the best one in this instance. There you go. Oh. Well, yeah, doing big rotations with this brush fall off is hard, but if you're careful, I think it works still. And then we have the worm here in the back. Let me switch it back to smooth, because that'll give us an easier time finishing this wormy little worm dude, little worm friend. There you go. Okay. Oh, nope, that's exactly what I wanted to avoid. Hold on. How do we avoid it? Of course, we use front faces only. There you go. Nice and thick. What is going on here? If you can't really use the clay strips brush, if it doesn't work, you can oftentimes use the crease brush. Oftentimes it doesn't work because of front faces only, but if you use the crease brush, then you can very easily just add more volume. I don't know why the other brush doesn't work. For some reason it doesn't. I've learned what brushes do, but I still don't know why they don't work when, or why the clay strips brush doesn't work there. There are some bugs that are still in Blender that haven't been solved, but they're very, very minor with very, very specific tools that almost nobody uses. Well, you know what? The worm is quite thin. I think we need to add some more volume here. The thickness is missing. Hold on. Might look horrible, but I will accept that. So what I want to do is I want to thicken up the worm. Let me see if it works the way that I want it to work. Okay. Where's my... There it is. Good old inflate. There it is. Haha. Okay. It's definitely better. Might not be perfect, but it's better. Okay. And then we need the teeth. Oh, let me switch it to linear. Oh, let's maybe use sharp actually. There you go. Then we, oh, hold on. We flatten it and then we can grab it again. 1, 2, and oh, 3. Perfect. Hello. There you go. Nope. So much. There you go. Perfect. Look at it. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Let me do one more thing here. I want to pull these eyes a little bit further apart. I think they were too close together. That's why they look so weird. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Perfect. Do we need to cut something off? I don't think so. I think that's pretty good. Okay. Welcome back, Johnny. I hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Tomorrow it's already Friday again. Hope you're excited. Maybe you have some plans for tomorrow. Maybe you don't. Maybe just watch some movie or I don't know, whatever you like to do. Oh, okay, let's set the focus more on his sort of skull and the worm kind of combined. I don't need to show the entire crown. I think that's a better shot. Maybe we can drag it out a little bit, kind of further back. Just like that. That should be good enough. Save it. Okay, what does it look like? Okay. World. Make it black. Same. Nope. This is not something we need to change. We're gonna change this afterwards. We need to change the shader in itself. Oh no, we need to append the lighting in the shader. Give me the shader, I need it. There it is. And then we need the lighting. Perfect. Okay. It's always lighting first. If we don't have lighting, we can't see what the shader does. Maybe we can make this one a little bit softer. No, I kind of want to have pretty sharp shadows actually. I kind of like this. So we have a nice light. We can see the head of the worm is nicely lit up. The skull is also lit up. I think that's pretty cool. Then we have a, I guess, shadow softener. Right there. We have another one right here. I think that's pretty good. Hold on, maybe we can even move it to the back. Like this, so we can keep some... I don't want to lose too much here in this region. Although we might be able to add some more just using the other two lights here. The color light and the rim light. What if we move the rim light to the other side? Right there. I think that could work pretty well. And then we have the color. Which color should we use? So we had... I mean, I guess yellow could work, but I think we... Did we have... Wait, what did we use? I always forget what colors we recently used. We used green, red, blue, teal, and yellow. We could do something like orangey yellow. I think that could work quite well. It could also fit to the crown. I mean, or a purple. I think purple could also look pretty cool. I think purple might look better. Like this. I think so. I think that's a cool color, like a dark purple. Place it maybe on the other side. Excuse me. I kind of like to... I like the left side more. I always like to put the color on the side that is darker. Just because it doesn't light it up too much. And the color can shine there more easily. Because if there's already a bright light on that side where you want to put your color, the color kind of gets drowned out and gets... I guess it's weaker. Thank you. Thank you. Lulu. I appreciate it. There you go. Yeah, I think that's a good spot. Although, you could also say that the worm should be lit up because he's purple. Or it purple. Although, no, I kinda wanna keep it there. Let's change the world lighting. I mean the background. There you go. And then we need the shader. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think with these very dark eyes, I think that can work very well. It also works very well for the ribs. They also are very dark. Maybe even more. Oh, no, that's too much. Problem is, the purple is very dark in itself. So, I don't know if it's getting too dark with all this. I think it's getting too dark. Maybe we should use... Let's see, what else do we have here? Maybe like an orangey? Orangey yellow? What was that? What was out? I think that was outside. Somebody hit their brake on their bike. It was just like a screeching screeching sound. But my headphones are acting up. Oh, hold on. There it is. Oh, that's a pretty cool color. I think that could fit very well. Like this. Reddish pink. Burning pink. And then we can also enable depth of field and put it on... Let's see. Oh, what I like to do to see what the depth of field actually does is I like to switch from cycles to Eevee. In this one, you can see the depth of field effect a little bit better, because then if I switch to depth of field here in Eevee, I can change it, and you can in real time see what the changes actually do. So the less, or the smaller the f-stop value gets, the less is, I guess, in focus. So what we can do now is we can select this, place it on wherever we want to place it, the focus point, maybe in between his eyes. There you go. So now you can see his, in between his eyes, it's fully focused. And now we can basically move backwards until we have everything in focus, or sort of in focus, that we want to have in focus. We just move it higher and higher and higher until we, for example, have the worm in focus. There you go. But then you can see here in the back, it's still blurry. There you go. I think that's pretty good. Let's go back to cycles. And the depth of field values work here too. The light values, oftentimes comparing Eevee to cycles, are different. I think you need more light for cycles than you need for Eevee. If you only use these lights, which means that doesn't work really, kind of transferring one to the other. But depth of field definitely works. Okay, I think that's all we need to do here. Let's do the test render and do some post-production, and then we're done. Wait, where am I? Hold on. Oh, yeah. Perfect. Okay. Set it to max. Max performance. Perfect. Okay. I actually like 8 size. A size of 8. It's a little bit glowy, but I think it works quite well here. It's not too overwhelming. I think 7, you don't really see the glow, not too much, and I think 8 works quite well. Oftentimes with a low threshold and a big size, oftentimes darker areas like the eyes get drowned out and get like brighter than they should be. But in this one, I think it works quite well. 7 is just not existent. It's just not there. You can see it in some areas, but it's very, very small. I want to have a glowy skeleton. So this works better. Okay. Time to drink. Oftentimes, well, never mind. Okay, 17 seconds. Let me prepare Photoshop. I think, yeah, we're ready. Perfect. Yeah, today we have quite a few pieces that we're gonna give feedback to. So I definitely need to set a timer for all of them. I think we have 6 people that submitted pieces. Which means we probably have like 21, 2 hours, which would be 120 divided by 6 would be 20 minutes for each. That should be doable. I think 20 minutes for each is quite good. Of course, sometimes I spend more time on, or at least the last few times I spent like 30 minutes or maybe even more on one piece. But I think 20 minutes is a pretty good time to go over the biggest changes. And it also helps me condense my, what I want to say or what I want to give feedback on a little bit better. It's similar to, making or doing presentations when you were in school, at least. The presentations that were open-ended could go for so long, like 30 minutes or so, but then in other cases, you would have like a very strict rule on how long you can talk. And those were oftentimes way better because you needed to, I guess, convey your information in a more condensed way. Quick sketch day 263. Perfect. Okay. Let's do some PP and then we're done. There it is. We need... It looks pretty funky actually. Like futuristic. I don't really know why, but probably because of the color. I like that color a lot. Especially mixing it with some darker shade. I think I used that color in today's thumbnail. Perfect. I think that's pretty good. It's not that bright, the color in itself, but it is very, yeah, it's very vibrant. That's what I like about it. And it has a good contrast to a lot of other colors. There you go. Okay, perfect. Nope. Hold on. Do we need more snazziness here? Yeah, maybe. I don't wanna. Maybe a little bit. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Nope. Wrong folder. As always. There you go. Perfect. Okay. That's the quick sketch. We worked pretty quick today. Only taking, I don't even know, like 45 minutes for everything. Sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes 45 minutes. And I think, you know, we were pretty quick today. And it turned out pretty well, I think. There's, you know, always some stuff you can do better, but, you know, these quick sketches are not there to make them perfect. So, let's get back to Blender. And I will upload the image to social media. And then once we're back, once the compilation is over, we're gonna begin doing, or we're gonna go over all the pieces that have been submitted in the Discord. And we're gonna give them personal feedback. 3 minutes. The compilation is 3 minutes, and then we will go to that. 20 minutes for everyone. Of course, if that means if somebody has 2 pieces, of course I need to split up my time for both of them. But I wouldn't like to say, well, 20 minutes for each piece. I think that would be too long. I will make it per person basically. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Your work is beautiful, but you can't be on top every time. Don't doubt yourself. I don't. You know, I don't really see these quick sketches as like art that I want to perfectionize, that I want to make perfect, I guess. I don't really want to make any of my art perfect, just because it is oftentimes better to finish your art piece and then reflect on it rather than trying to make it perfect. Because oftentimes the more, it's like having a telescope and then looking at a city, then you see, oh, there's somebody, well, there's this one house that looks interesting. So you zoom in more, you look more into the details. Then you see, hey, there's somebody looking out of the window in that house. So you zoom even more, you focus on even smaller detail. Then you see, hey, that person has a weird haircut or has a weird nose. Let's zoom in. You zoom in, you see, you can observe his nose, so you look into even deeper details. Then you see, hey, he has weird pose. I mean, I don't know, he has a weird skin complexion or whatever. Let's look into that. I mean, you go closer and closer and closer. It always is like, the more you go into detail, the smaller the detail that you can focus on will become. So once you kind of get into the next level of detail, you think about the detail that is even smaller, and then you go into that level of detail, then you think about, oh, that detail is there, it's even smaller than what I'm already thinking about, but maybe I can, you know, look into that, and then you go into even deeper and deeper and deeper. That's why I kind of try to be aware of that and try to, I guess, avoid it, because it can very easily be just like an infinite trap where you're never going to get out of, because the smaller you go, even, you know, you go smaller and smaller and smaller, but it also takes longer and longer and longer to finish or to perfect these details, because, well, they're so small that they cover a small space. And if you say, well, for example, the pores look weird on the skin, let me improve them, which would mean that you would have to improve every single pore on the skin, which is, you know, can take a very long time. I always try to I try to stick to a reasonable level of detail, I guess, and a reasonable level of expectations when it comes to, I guess, the perfectness of the end result. Yeah, and as I said before in the beginning, I think it's always better to focus on finishing pieces and then reflecting on it, rather than trying to finish them, because if you reflect on them, you know what you want to do better next time, and you can apply it beforehand, before you rather than basically applying it afterwards. I think I found, at least, that applying it or thinking about it before you actually work on what you want to improve works better than trying to fix something afterwards or improve something afterwards. Yep. Welcome back. WQF, improve. Exactly. Improving is more effective if you do, well, yeah, I would say quantity oftentimes is better than quality when it comes to improving. Or at least you have to have a healthy mix. You can't have too much quantity, you can't have too much quality. You need to have a balance between the two. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna see you in 3 minutes, and then we're gonna go to the pieces. Hope you enjoyed the compilation. I'll see you in 3 minutes. Apparently, Blender doesn't. I mean, Facebook doesn't like my image. It won't load it. Just not working. It just says can't load the image for some reason. Well, I guess that doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, we can begin with the personal feedback. We have 20 minutes for each. Well, let's not waste any time. Let me set up everything that we need and then we can begin. So we have mostly images. We have, I think, one model that we can, I guess, you know, work on. Facebook grows. I mean, still a lot of people use it, you know. A lot of old people, but you know, doesn't mean that old people aren't. Are you saying old people are gross? Are you telling me that? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that submitted a piece, and we're gonna go through them in order that they have submitted their pieces. So if you have submitted a piece, if you're the first one that submitted a piece, but then you also submitted a piece at the end, you're the last one that submitted one, we're gonna look at both at first, so that we don't get confused, basically. So if the first person that submitted a new piece after we had our last submissions was, hold on, Zaro. He posted another, like, his character again, I think after some changes on his body, or on the body of his character, and then he also posted, I think, a new version of the same sculpt again, asking for some feedback on the body. So we're gonna look at the body and we will give feedback on them. Okay, hold on. Let me download your pieces real quick, James, and then we can begin. Where are you? There you are. Wait. Oh, okay. There you go. One more. Okay. Perfect. So, censorship is gross. I'm not that old. Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people, let's say, still use Facebook. Okay, so the first person that submitted a piece was Zaro. Let me just quickly do a few things here, just to be sure that there's nothing. Hold on, there it is. Just to be sure that we have that we don't move over the gray line. Let me just quickly, let me just do quick censorship here. Talking about censorship. I said in the Discord that the images that Zara posted weren't, I guess, like any nudity, but I just want to make sure that that's, you know, I might think that way, but maybe, I don't know, somebody else might not think that way. So I kind of want to make sure that there's nothing, there's no confusion. Oh, there you go. Okay. First one. Nope, I don't want to save it. And then that's the second one. We probably just we use one of them. Although, maybe not. Let me just do both. There you go. I think that works. Okay. Oh. Okay. Sorry about the last minute uploads. Yeah, so I included yours now into today's stream, but if there would be like another last minute, basically the rule that I want to have is if we already have like 6 people, and then there's another person that's a bit last minute, or we're already in the process, I'm probably gonna at least, well, not include it into that day stream, just because I would have to, I guess, you know, change the timing on all the other pieces, which is kind of annoying. So I'll yeah, I'm gonna include yours, but in the case that I think it's too late, I'll not include it. But today I will. So as you can see right here, he has posted a few pieces. So first of all, he has posted pieces with his character, with the face, and then with full body shots. His question basically in the Discord was, wait, he asked the question. The question, or the thing that I want to focus on, that he said at least he wants to get some feedback on, is I need some feedback more on the body. He wants to get feedback on what he can improve to make his character's body, you know, look better. If you don't have time today, I understand, no sweat. I think I can, you know, well, you know, if you upload more pieces, then you need to consider that I can only spend so much time on each one of them. So if I spend 20 minutes on each, I mean 20 minutes for each person, then I can only spend, how much time is that? 20 divided by 3? 8? Almost 9? No, 8, 9, right? Like 9.5 minutes on each, instead of 20 on one. Okay, so let's go to, let me set a timer so I can make sure that I don't go over it. Okay. 20 minutes. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so he has submitted, he wants to get feedback on his body. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to open it in Photoshop. No, we're going to open it in Blender first, and then we can do some adjustments. We're going to mark what I would suggest he can change, and then we can do these changes in Photoshop. There you go. Okay, so we have I think the front view is better when it comes to doing adjustments. So we're going to go with this one. We're probably going to use this bad boy here quite often. Roberto. This dude. Just because, well, it's an anatomy reference, and it should work quite well, even though he's a male reference. The only thing that really changes is the bone structure and the maybe muscle proportions or muscle size. I think we can still use it. We just need to consider that maybe some muscles might be smaller, or in a slightly different position than on him, basically. Okay, so okay, I think we need 2 pieces here. Actually, we need the side view, and then we need the front view, because the front view is better. You can see the proportions better on the front view than the side view. The side view is more on, like, is newer, so this one is probably the improved version compared to this one. But this one shows us the feet, for example, better and all that stuff. So I'm going to start with this one. There you go. So let's go over what we can improve. The first thing that comes to mind is the chest. What I mean is what is it? Oh, sorry. The ribs. The ribs go pretty deep. Looking at him, you can see they start up here. I don't know if you can see it, but they start up here, and then they go all the way down, probably to here. And then down here his hips start. So one thing you can do is you can go way deeper with your rib cage. What I would say, they could probably go from here down to maybe down to here, maybe here. There you go, like this. Currently they go up to here. So that's one thing you can do. You can just put the ending of your ribs, or the border, can go lower. If we look at a reference real quick, let's just look at the skeleton to see it better. Oh, no, I don't want to save Google. Skeleton. There it is. Maybe even this one. This one. Oh, this one. No, let's use this one. You can see the structure of the rib cage. See how it starts up here, but then it goes all the way down to here. There's a small distance between the end of the rib cage and the hips. It's very, very small. Looking at it from the front, not from the side, it might be a little bit more, at least looking at the middle here. But here you can see it's quite short. So just moving the ribcage a little bit lower can probably help establish the structure of the body a little bit better. Then let's go to the other image, because we have the, you know, this black part here. Kind of, we can't really see what the structure underneath looks like. So we're going to go to the other image, which is this one. Okay, this looks a little bit. So this area, I think the hip area can be improved. If you look at the reference here, you can see that, well, this will be a little bit risky. There you go. You can see there's the belly button somewhere over there. There you go. And then the muscles, the lowest core muscles, or the lowest stomach muscles, whatever, the lowest ab muscles, go all the way to the crotch. For you right now, for this image, or for this model, they would be somewhere over here, but it looks like they end right here. What would be more appropriate would be if the abs would look like this. There you go. And then the last part would go down all the way. So you can see that you have this sort of ridge right here. You can probably just smooth this out a little bit, just to kind of, you know, bring just kind of make it look like the lowest part of the lowest ab muscles connect all the way to the crotch, basically. And then one more thing you can see here, hopefully you can see right there. This is the hip muscle. This is the muscle that you can see right here, this one. This small edge right there is poking out. If you feel on your own hip, it's kind of poking out at the front. You can very feel this. It's like this very hard bone piece that you can feel right over your legs, basically on a little bit over crotch height, right on the side of your hip. You can feel this very small piece of bone poking out there. That is basically the hip right there. And going from the hip into the middle of the crotch, it goes quite deep. Right here you can see it goes quite deep, and then the muscles originate from here and then go out down to the leg. So one thing you can probably also do is you can just kind of add some more, or no, remove some volume right here. This is where the hip muscle will be, right here. There you go. Which means you can probably just dig in here a little bit more, remove this, so we have some more depth in the hip region right there. And then you have the hip muscle right here. I think the hip muscle, of course, depending on what your character should look like, maybe the hip muscle is right here. Then your your muscles connect to the hip right here, and then they go out like this, which is why you oftentimes, for female characters, or in general for characters, especially when they're stylized, oftentimes what you have is that's the belly button, I guess. You have the hip being in like this box form. You have the thin waist right here, but then they get wider like this, which would then bring you to the hip bones, but then they stay this wide like this, and then they become wider again. This is because the muscles of the legs, the outer muscles of the legs or thighs, are wider than the bone structure, which would look something like this. There you go. Like this. Yeah, this is why you sometimes have this sort of box shape right here. which gets wider the lower you go, like this. Looking at this, looking at the other one, hold on. There you go. You have this structure here. You can see this is not as wide as down here. But one thing you can probably do is just kind of add some more depth here, right there. Just kind of remove a little bit more here. So we have to make bumps where there's a bone. Yeah, you can see, you don't need to necessarily make it very, very visible depending on how much fat the character has. But if you, for example, look at him, you can see it is very visible here. See how there's this very, very visible corner there. That is where the hip is, and the muscles connect right onto the surface of the hip, and then they go down like this. Let's look at some bodybuilders. You can see it very well there. Or let's go to Instagram model, because then we can have some more fit people that are still not bodybuilders. Maybe, so we can see here, for example, there you can see it. This is the bone. I don't know if you can see this. Hold on. Hold on. Let's see if we can find another one. Is there no full body shot, please? So you can see it here, for example. Well, that's quite small. Hold on. There you can see it. Please. You can see it right here. You can see this edge right there. Maybe we can see it in another one. This one. I think bodybuilders are actually the best ones to see it on. Also, oh, here you can see it very well here. See this edge right there? That's what I mean. You can oftentimes see it very well in these shots. Let's go to bodybuilders real quick. Bodybuilder. See how there's this edge right there? Oftentimes the whatever they have on, panties or whatever, go right over that bone. They kind of rest on it. You can see it right here. That's here are all the muscles that go to the hip, and here's right the corner of the hip that you can see right there. Of course, nobody kind of pulls down the pants, so you can't really see it that well. But you can see how kind of deep it goes here in the middle. Yeah, so, or here, you can see this line right there is right above the hip. This line right there. Oftentimes when they stretch, you can't really see it that well. You can also call them love handles, these ones right there. That's where the bone is. So you oftentimes, at least for male, or for males, I guess, you have this line going into the middle from this muscle right here going into the middle. Here is where this bone is. Right, oh, right there. That's where the bone is, right underneath this line. Here, right there. Where the 117 is, right there. That's where the hip muscle is. It is quite visible, but depending on how much fat you have, you might see it more or you might see it less. Also, depending on how much muscle you have. Okay. Yeah, that would be going over the hips. Yeah, here you can maybe bring down the ribs a little bit more, the rib cage right here, just a little bit. There you go. This is sort of my trouble area where I don't really exactly know where all the bones or where all the muscles are and what they do and how they attach. I need to look into that a little bit more. Then I think one thing you can do is, I think right now the area right here, this part right there. One thing you need to remember is where the biceps muscle is attached to. The biceps muscle is attached to the, I think it's the what is it here, this muscle right there. Today I just have nothing in my mind. Hold on. Clavicle, I think it's the clavicle. It is connected to this bone up here. Because if you want to move stuff, your biceps works like this. So you move your arm from back there, you pull it forward. So it needs to be connected here to the arm, right here, and also connected to somewhere here on the shoulder. And as far as I remember, we can look at it. Bicep muscle attachment. You can see it right here. Oh, it's connected to the scapula. It goes from the forearm, goes over the upper arm, and then goes around or above the ankle or the shoulder, and then connects to the scapula. So looking at some examples what I mean with that, or what that would entail when it comes to the shape. If we look at bodybuilders again, it means that looking at the... Dude, what are they called again? Whatever. The armpits. They are not these open areas. They're actually, if you lower your arms, they're actually pretty tight. They're just like this crease, because your arms are basically right next to your body, and just by opening them, you kind of expose this area. Right now, what you can see here is that if she would basically bring her arms closer to the body, you would still have a small hole or a small gap, similar to the thigh gap. You would still have this gap up here. So you can probably bring the biceps more like over here, like this. Maybe even more like this, which would remove or at least lessen this sort of gap right here, and would probably look a little bit more natural. So it would kind of look like this. There you go. Maybe even, yeah, that should be good representation. There you go. Okay. I think one more thing that I saw, you can't really see it here, but if you would draw it, it would look something like this. I think the gap between the two thighs is quite big right now. We can probably see it in the other one, in the front view, right here. You know, people always say like, oh, you know, or you know, you see like, oh, people want to have, or at least, I don't know, girls want to have the thigh gap, and oftentimes you get it from being by having a lot less, like very little fat, just because oftentimes there's a lot of fat, at least for, I guess, girls, around the legs and hips in the lower region here, and it oftentimes sort of tightens the space in between the thighs. Right now for this character, it is very wide right here. Of course, she has a pretty wide stance, but also in itself, I think you can bring the thighs a little bit closer together. Looking at some references here, let's go back to I don't want to Google female body there. I'll probably find some weird stuff. let's try. Hold on. Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Hold on. I think this one's pretty good. It's a comparison between different body types. Well, come on, give me a better one. There you go. Okay, so you can see it here. If you have more fat, like this one is, maybe you could say chubby, this one's more fat, this one's more fat, this one's even more. You can see for these, of course, they have a pretty tight, or pretty, their legs are pretty close together, but still, even if it would stand normally, you would have either a very small or no gap in between the thighs right here. Looking at this one, for example, or this one, you can see they're working out, they're fit. They don't have that much fat on their body, which would mean that you can see a very clear gap in between their legs. And even for this one, even though she doesn't have a lot of fat, her muscles in the thighs are so big that they probably would still touch in the middle, just because they're up here. They're that big. You can see here how they're like wider right there. And if she would put together her legs, you would probably have either a very, very small or no gap. You could even take this as a good reference for the image, for your image right here. She has a similar stance right here. This width I think is a pretty good reference. Looking at yours, I think it's a little bit too wide. You can probably bring it closer. So you could probably say, taking this as the reference, first of all, around the knee, the outer bone or the outer muscles get quite thin. They get pretty close to the knee, not ankle, but the knee itself. But then on the inner muscles, looking at him again, you can see here it's quite close to the knee, but on the other side you have this sort of bump right here, because the muscles go around the knee right here. So you have more of a bump here in the middle than on the outside. And then you can see here it goes wider, then you have this sort of S shape, and then it goes wider again. So what you could do for your character is you could go to the knee, and then you could add a little bit more volume here. Keep this S shape, and then you bring it closer again, like this. Just to kind of add a little bit more volume to the legs, and also tighten this area right here. If I look at it, generally speaking, of course, hips and when you talk about body height, the leg including, the legs are half of the body height, and the other half is the upper body plus head. Looking at this, I think that's the proportions regarding that are pretty good. I think you have half of the character somewhere over here, so that fits quite well. I think the knees are pretty low. If we look at leg proportions, the thighs are just as long as the calves. So this length right here should be as long as this length. 2 arm lengths, if I remember correctly. 2 arm lengths equal 1 leg or 1 thigh or 1 calf. I think you can move the knees a little bit higher, just a little bit. I think the thighs are quite long, and the calves can probably get a little bit more length. A few more things that come into mind right now. I think the arms are pretty good. One thing you can try is you could make the wrists a little bit thinner. At least when you look at it from the side, you can see how thin my wrist is. That might be a little bit more personal, but in general, the muscles of the wrist or the muscles of the hand and the arm either end at the wrist, so they're very thin, or a few go to the hand. There aren't really that many muscles that go like over the wrist. They are either going sort of through the wrist, or they end at the wrist, so there aren't really any muscles that create volume around here. Which means you could probably make them a little bit thinner here. Right there. There you go. And then one more thing that comes to mind would be the leg, the foot knuckles, you could say. These bumps right here, they look pretty big right now. Looking at the reference here. Can you see it? Hold on, let's get closer. Or let's look at the skeleton. Or maybe even here. No, this image isn't that good. Here, you can see... Oh, thank you. You can see these bumps aren't that big. They're actually quite small. So I think one thing you can try is just reduce the size of them. These two. Also, if you look at them a little bit closer, one of them is higher than the other one. If I remember correctly, the outer one is lower than the inner one, which would mean that you would have to... I think this one is in a pretty good position, but I think you can push this one a little bit higher, maybe over here. There you go. Like this. So this bump just a little bit higher and maybe a little bit smaller. Same with this one. Yeah, so we have the knees maybe a little bit higher, We can add some more volume to the thighs to reduce the thigh gap. We have these bumps right here, maybe a little bit smaller, and also move the inner one a little bit higher. Then we have the chest, the rib cage bring the rib cage a little bit lower. The wrists can be a little bit thinner. Then we go to the other one, and we can see the lowest ab muscle sort of looks like it's ending here, but you can probably connect it. You can connect it from here all the way to the crotch, so you can kind of remove this bump right there, and then you can maybe add some more depth to the thighs right here, or yeah, to the thighs. Just add a bigger crease right here. I think that can help a lot. Oh, and then the armpit right here. Just there's a big gap here. I think reducing that can help as well. Yep, that would be 0. The 20 minutes are over. We need to go to the next one. I think those things help. Of course, we couldn't do these changes now in Photoshop, but I think I think they were still applicable. There you go. Okay, so the next one is who submitted the next one? That would be or I can't remember. Dude, his name is so long. I can't remember his full name, but yeah. Basically translated, it was the unimportant artist, if I remember correctly, or as he's called in Discord. He submitted a few more abstract pieces, you could say. He submitted also his inspirations in the inspirations panel. So he has posted a few images like this one. So basically paintings that he found, I guess. This one for painting an image or drawing, whatever. And then here another one with a person sitting on a table drinking coffee or whatever. And then we have another one and looking through the window. And he recreated them with a figure of him, or a character, one of his characters. And welcome back, Hustler. I hope you enjoy your Thursday. Welcome back. And yeah, he recreated them in this black and white style, cel shaded, with either wireframes. He created different versions: wireframe, no wireframe, just shadows, black and white. All of them are black and white. And then here you have a few more versions of them. Here you have the wireframe again, and then you have one where you can see the wireframe with an outline. So, and then you have one more that is, I guess, original. There's no reference that I have seen. So yeah, let's look at them, and we can give feedback on those too. So let's so because he tried to recreate, or at least is heavily inspired by these images, I think we can kind of compare the image to his image, and then we can maybe even think about what makes the image or what is so special about the image, and then what is so special about or what he maybe can do to get closer to the special look of the image, I guess. So first of all, we have oh, hold on, there you go. We have the original. And then we have his version. We have this. Oh, hold on. We have version number 1 and we have version number 2. I think we can work with this one more. This one is very good to see the lighting. With this one, it's kind of harder to see because the lines kind of, I guess, you don't know if there is any, if there are any, I guess, if there's any light on this side because there's so much white coming from the wireframe. I think we can use this one better for the feedback. So looking at this and then looking at the original, we can probably compare the two. Hold on. There you go. Perfect. So one thing that comes to mind is, first of all, this one doesn't have a background. Of course, if you're rendering something, the standard background is gray, so that's probably what you went with. I don't want to say, well, no background, bad. You could have just said, well, I want to focus on just the overall aesthetic and the pose maybe, and posing the character in the way that this one is. So let's focus on that more. You can see you also added this plant here in the front. One thing that I would say is that this one is way darker than the original. You can see here the light sort of goes all the way over the head, and then even to the back, to the scapula right here in the back, or to the shoulder blades, all the way down there. For yours, it kind of ends at the shoulders. Maybe you have a little bit more here, but the other side of the shoulders don't really get light at all. That doesn't need to say, well, your lighting is bad or something, but it rather means that if you want to recreate an image, here are 3 things that you can, change if you want to get closer to the original. I think the pose is also a little bit more dynamic if you look at the spine especially. Oftentimes when you're drawing something, in drawing, one thing to make your characters more dynamic is you would draw the spine and the ribcage and the hips first. Because these 3 elements, the core basically, determines sort of the dynamicy, how dynamic your pose will be. Oftentimes what you will see is that you have a you would have what you oftentimes can see is like an S shape here for your spine, like this, or maybe even just this, like a C shape, and then your ribcage would kind of look in this direction. There you go. I know it's horrible, but bear with me. There you go. So you would have your ribcage right here, and then your hips would maybe even look in a different direction. So maybe over here. There you go. So you would have this rotation in the body, which would kind of suggest a more dynamic pose. So what you could do here is you could say, well, maybe this leg is going backwards like this. There you go. And then, I don't know. There you go. Nope, that's weird. The legs are kind of going backwards. There you go. Okay, and then you have your arms, which are kind of going, I don't know, forwards or whatever. You can see this one is more dynamic than what you would have if you would have just basically this, but with the hips pointing forward. So we'd have the same shape here, or we could even do it this way. There you go. And then the hips have the same rotation. There you go. That's weird. Hold on. There you go. Looking at this one is more dynamic than this one. Just because you include more rotation, you actually move your body, and by moving your body and, stretching and doing different moves, basically, moving your entire body and your body language looks more dynamic, more active, and more engaged. Looking at these two, is it activated? I think so, right? Yeah. Looking at this, looking at the spine, the original, you can see the spine goes from here all the way down the back, and then you see the C curve going to the side. Let me use a different color. Why do I not have a different color? Well, how can I change the color? I can't. Well, I guess I can't. Okay, you can see the spine going down, and then you have this clear C shape going to the side. So what you would have is you would have the rib cage being quite straight, like this, but then the hips would look something more like this. There you go. So you would have this clear rotation here, and the chest is upwards and the hips are sort of slightly rotated. Looking at yours, you would have the rib cage, and looking at the spine first, the spine would go down and it would basically just go straight down. Then you would have your rib cage being right here and your hips being right here. See how there's a difference? You can see this line is quite straight. This line has like the C curve in it. Which basically makes this image a little bit more dynamic, because she engages more of her body and kind of uses the entire body to go to create the pose, I guess you could say. Also which also leads to her head being slightly tilted to the right here to kind of react to the slight tilt created by the hip. So if you would continue this, it would kind of look like this. There you go. And here the spine is quite straight still. There you go. So one thing you can do is you could, for example, rotate the hip just a little bit, which would also I always talk about at least this week we talked about how to make something more realistic. I talked about variation. That does basically apply to everything, not just to environments, not just to, I don't know, to characters, but also to animations or to poses. If you make your character's legs slightly different from each other, they will look more realistic, more dynamic than if you would make them perfectly straight. If you would stand, you know, like this, just straight with your arms down, or if you would, I don't know, you say you want to be scared, you know, you would do this. This would be less dynamic than, I don't know, doing something like this, where you have like one hand down here and one up here. It just looks a little bit more realistic, because oftentimes your body, or humans aren't no robots, of course, which means robots, well, at least depicted, oftentimes do everything like at this, like both sides do the exact same, so which means you would do this. But humans don't really do that. They just move their body, and they just, by sheer nature, I guess you could say, they have slight asymmetries while they're moving. You don't really, for example, if you're walking, you don't walk like this. You walk like this. So there's an inherent asymmetry that you can basically translate to any other pose. So if you would rotate your body like this, if you would rotate the hips, what would happen is that the thigh down here couldn't. The thigh down here is kind of blocked by this stone down here, by this marble or whatever, by this wall that she's sitting on. So it would probably go straight forward. But then what you can do, so it would go forward and then down like this. But then if you go to the other leg, this leg either has some more room to go down, so it would kind of go down like this, or it could actually go over the other leg and kind of move like this. So she could sit cross-legged. If you look at this one, she really only can sit with both legs sort of going down like this, straight forward and then down. Because if she would want to sit cross-legged, she would have to do this pose. So one thing you can do is just rotate the hips, and you can do so much more. You can create such an more interesting pose with it. You can also then, for example, the arms right here. I think the arms, of course, have a different position. This arm goes forward, this arm goes to the side, so they are asymmetrical, so that's good. And I don't really think this pose or the change in the hips would really change the arms necessarily. One thing you could say is that the elbow here is a little bit closer to the body than for yours. So you would have to move your elbow. This would be yours right now, but then if you would look at the reference, it would be something closer to the body basically. Yeah, the lower arm is a little bit closer. It's basically parallel to the hip right here. Okay. We've been talking about this image for quite a while. I think the big takeaway for this is just the pose can be more dynamic by including or by basically making the spine add a little bit more, like add a C-curve to the spine. That could be one thing you can do. Just kind of bring like a slight rotation. Either move the hips, rotate the hips a little bit, or maybe rotate the upper body. Either forwards like this, or maybe to the side, just to make the pose a little bit more dynamic. This is what separates this image from the original from yours, I would say. Only looking at the character and kind of the recreation of the character. Let's go to the next piece. Let's just make a new one here. The next one that we have here is this one. Wait, that's wrong. Okay, we have the reference, and then we have the original. I mean, that's the original, and that is your recreation. We're gonna go with this one. I think for this one, I don't think the lighting is necessarily that important. I don't think you wanted to recreate the lighting with this one. Okay. I think we can actually sort of apply the same principle here. So the reason why this leg or why this foot is so much closer to the ground than the other one is because her hips are twisted again. If you look at the rotation that you would have here, she's kind of sitting or lying with her arms on this board. So this part here is quite symmetrical, like this. Then you have the rib cage, and then looking at the spine to create this sort of difference in these two legs, because theoretically this leg is just as long as the other one. So why is this foot or this ankle closer to the ground, which means she needs to lift her foot up and kind of rest on her toes? Why does she have to do that? Because the hips are slightly tilted this way, which means the distance from here to the ground are longer than from here to the ground. See how there's like a slight difference here? So by rotating the hips slightly here, it means that you have more room here, or less room for the right leg to take up space, I guess. Which means you need to angle it a little bit, and then you move your leg backwards to create this pose. Looking at yours, it looks like the hips are straight again. See here? The hips are pretty straight. You can see the spine right there. The hips are pretty straight. Which means her left leg is straight. But then what you can see is that she basically just lifts her foot to create a similar effect where she rests her toes on the ground. The difference here is that her toes are actually behind the heel, right here. But your foot, or toes, whatever, are parallel to this foot. What you can do is you can, bring this side of the hip a little bit lower, there you go, so that you can move this foot a little bit further back and create a similar pose like this one. Yeah, I think for your images, you can look a lot into how to create more dynamic poses to create more interesting, I guess, poses or images or characters, more dynamic, less static. Yeah. The lighting, I think, is really more there to kind of show the structure and the character in itself. It's not really necessarily supposed to recreate what you can see here. So I would more go with the other parts of the aesthetic of the image, I guess. One big thing is the character and how the hips are slightly rotated. I think the upper part of the body is pretty good. You can see you also brought the hands together, which I like. She's looking into the distance. I think that's pretty good. I think the upper body is good. The upper body is good. I think by just rotating the hips a little bit, you can make the pose a little bit more dynamic and bring it closer to the reference. This looks kind of a little bit, I guess, unnatural, or more as if she would kind of, as if she wants to move away from the door. Or not the door, but the window. She lifts her right foot up so that you can place it somewhere else to move somewhere else. That's sort of the idea that I'm getting here from this pose. Yeah. Okay, there are two more. There's one more that is a recreation. The one problem that I have with this one is you can't really see that much. It's quite, with this one, while you can see the building, you can see a little bit of the character. With this one, you can see the outline pretty well. We can probably look at this real quick. And then we have, of course, the last one, this one. I think I want to focus on the ones with references, which would be this one here, the last one. Let's look at this one. Okay. Well, now I can change the color? Okay, dude. Okay, that's the original. That's the recreation. My alien was freestyle. Doesn't matter. We're gonna give feedback whether it's freestyle or not. Okay, so looking at this, the first thing that sort of jumps out to me is the pose again. Not necessarily the hips. I think the hips are pretty close. The thing that jumps out to me is the chair position, I guess. She sits kind of on the edge of the chair right here. Right here's the edge. Maybe like this. And she's sort of sitting on the entirety of the chair. Right here. I think the character is just a little bit too small. You can probably just increase the size a little bit and solve that problem. You can then create a pose that sort of, you know, works a little bit better with the size of the chair, or you just, you know, make the chair a little bit smaller. There are two ways you can do it. This way you can rest, she or the character can rest her she can rest a little bit easier on the chair, which also means that she can relax her legs a little bit. Right now it kind of looks like she's trying to stop herself from slipping off the chair. That's kind of what it looks like. If you bring herself, rest herself on the chair, the feet can be a little bit more relaxed. Because if you would do it with the size that you have right now, it kind of looks like she's like a child on a chair, not reaching the bottom, not reaching the floor with their legs. Which if you want to go for that, of course you can do that. But if you want to recreate this, it would probably be better to either increase the size of the character or make the chair smaller. One thing that you need to keep in mind when you know references at all, well, doesn't matter. Yeah. If you don't use references, then we can look at references to see what you can do, what you can improve. So yeah. One thing that you need to keep in mind, oftentimes when you're sitting, very often you're not sitting with a straight back. A straight back would basically be something like this. So you sit right there. These are your legs. There you go. And then your back for a straight back would look like this. There you go. And then you have your arms right there. Oftentimes what you have is more of a rounded back, more like this, because you're kind of leaning forward like this. There you go. That's what you can also see here. You can see here, this is the butt, and then it's kind of rounded right there. It's not straight, it's rounded. So one thing you can do, probably pretty easy, you can just round the back a little bit. Right now it looks very, very straight. You can see this clear sort of inwards curve right here, and then it goes out again. But for this one, it's just one continuous outwards curve, basically implying that she's hunched forward a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what you can do for these images. This one, I don't know what this is. Maybe a little ghost. There you go. Hold on. There you go. In the spirit of Halloween. Yeah. I think the biggest things you can do to improve these images would be to look at how you can create interesting poses for your characters. Stuff like moving your hips, rotating the hips a little bit so that they're not parallel with the rib cage to create more dynamic poses. Okay. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. The next person that submitted a piece was James. Your alien. Okay. Let's look at your alien. You did not post one. You posted two pieces. No, three actually. So we need to split it up into three. So the first one is your alien. That's the one that we can probably look at the longest. Let me make a new file. Okay. Wait, why would I do that? Okay. So the first one is the alien. There it is. We have a few more images. Let's look at them. So we have the alien. We have the, I guess, earlier version right here. And then we have a video right here with a 360-degree rotation. You can see this sort of crustacean arm, you could say. The animations down there. And then the sort of mechanical arm right there. Okay. No, it's not like crustacean, it's more a tentacle arm. You can see the suckers right there. Okay. So, yeah. So, let's identify what we have here. So we have the alien in itself. So we have an alien right here. If you can't see, this is the alien, which has an arm with like a tentacle arm, basically, or at least the lower arm is a tentacle arm. You could maybe say that the upper arm, kind of looking at the texture, could be of a crustacean, let's say, like a crab or something, or you could say it just, you know, part of the tentacle arm. So let's say that. Let's say this is part of the tentacle arm. And then on the other side, you have the machine arm right here on this side with a cable coming from his heart, I think. I think that's where the heart is, right on the right side. You can't feel it. I'm dead. Oh no. Yeah, coming from his chest. And then you have the mechanical arm right here attached to the original organic arm with a gun in front of it, or a laser at least. And then at the bottom you have, he's attached to a UFO. Basically, like a vehicle that is being propelled by some sort of technology down there. This actually reminds me a lot of an enemy in Destiny. We're gonna look at that a little bit later though. Let's look at the arm first. Or let's look at the face first. I think the face looks like a, you know, like a UFO wheelchair. Yeah, kind of. The face is kind of how you would, you know, how I guess back in the day you would think aliens look like huge eyes and then small nose, maybe just nose holes and then like a mouth. I think you can bring in a little bit more structure, or not structure necessarily, maybe depth into the face. What I mean is, you don't necessarily need to make it shape it like a human face, but I think the structure you can still kind of adapt. What I mean is, for example, the cheekbones, you can see here you have like slight cheekbones right here. Looking at the jaw, basically the bone structure of a human is quite similar to the bone structure of animals, which you know, are a little bit further away from a human. So humans have quite a similar bone structure than animals have, and which would probably also mean that aliens would probably have a similar bone structure too. At least creating aliens that look similar to something you've already seen before makes them look more natural, I would say, at least. Which means maybe giving the alien a little bit more, which is, for example, why you have these eyes here. You have the eyes right there, we have the nose, and we have the mouth, of course, and then we have the head shape with the lower jaw and the upper jaw, the head, I guess. You already have, I guess, features that a human skull would have too. Similar to the body, you have shoulders, you have the chest, you have the abs and all that. So it's pretty close to a human body, just the proportions are a little bit different. So you could probably look at the human face and maybe adapt and maybe refine the structure of the face so that it resembles maybe a human face a little bit more to, yeah, just add some more detail and some more depth in like to this head. Looking at the other image that you had here, this one. You can't really see it that well. Let's look at the video real quick. I don't think we need to look at the video actually. I think just overall, maybe looking at like a human face, for example, not necessarily trying to copy it, not necessarily trying to copy his face, but more identifying what are the things that sort of, what are the peaks and what are the valleys, looking at the face of, for example, like a human face, and then identifying where they are in the face, and then maybe shifting them, changing the proportions so that they look more alien. If we, for example, look at alien, I guess, concept art, let's say Alien. There you go. The original Alien, you can see, still has some resemblance to, it's basically a skull. This one not so much, but this one especially. I think you can even see the skull underneath this sort of bulge right here. Of course, then it has like an attachment in the back, but just looking at the front here, you can see he even has teeth. It even has teeth right here. You can see a clear jaw. You can see clear cheekbones here on the side. You can see an upper row of teeth, and then you can see the head is on the top. You could argue, well, you know, if you want to make an alien, maybe the mouth's at the top rather than the bottom, you know. You could maybe do that too. Looking at this one, for example, you can still see they have an upper row of teeth. They have a jaw. They have the cheekbones, you could argue right there. Then you have this sort of hump right there. They still included quite a few anatomy pieces that you can see in humans or in animals. Looking at this one, well, this one's more abstract, I guess. This one too. This one kind of just looks like a human that doesn't have a nose anymore and has bigger eyes. The lips are still quite normal, I guess you could say. This one, you can still see nose, eyes, and all that stuff. You could maybe say, well, you could maybe add some more depth by including the cheekbones a little bit more. Of course, if you create aliens, you can say, well, they're alien, they can look however they want, which is true because, you know, they're sort of sci-fi fantasy. So you can kind of say, well, it looks like this, like E.T., nothing really like a human necessarily. Well, they still have a nose and mouth and eyes and all that, but it doesn't have to be that way. I actually looked at what was it? I looked at I watched a video about octopuses, and that they're basically the closest to an alien if we think about what we think an alien is. So if we look at an squid, let's say squid, or let's say octopus. There you go. This is basically as alien as it gets. It still has a mouth, but it's more like a beak. You can see right here, it's more like a beak. It has eyes. It has, I think, more than one heart. It has more than one brain. It has these weird wiggly arms, tentacles, and it doesn't look like a human at all. So this would be like I guess an alien that you could, you know, that is actually that we've seen. I think the thing about the thing about fantasy characters is that they oftentimes look very, very fake if they are not based on at least some proportions that we've already seen before. So what I mean with that is what I basically said, that you can include stuff like the cheekbones, the jaw, or other stuff to make them look more natural, more realistic, because we know what for us, realistic is what we've already seen before, what we've seen in real life. We perceive as realistic if we see it in games, for example. So if we think about, well, what would an alien look like? Maybe like a human, but with different proportions. That's sort of what we perceive as, realistic, because that's sort of all we know. They could also look like octopuses. If you would see an alien, I don't know if that would be true, but probably if we wouldn't know octopuses exist, or they wouldn't exist, and then you would see a design that looks like an octopus, I think it would look pretty fake. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that would be the case. So kind of, looking at what you already know exists and then kind of including that into your design, maybe shifting the proportions a little bit can probably make your alien look a little bit more realistic than looking at the other stuff. The tentacle. So one thing that I said was that the upper body or the upper arm looks a little bit more like a crustacean, you could say, and the lower part looks more like a tentacle. These are sort of two opposite. These are like on the opposite end of limbs that you can have. One is with a very hard shell, or there's soft, like a soft core surrounded by like a hard shell. The other one is basically just soft. There's not really like you can't really create a clear transition between the two, or at least I have never seen that. You would either have just the hard plates ending and then the soft core transitions to, I guess, the tentacle, you could say, or you would have the entire arm being like a soft tentacle-like material. If you want to do it completely soft, you could maybe look at what, for example, an octopus tentacle looks like. It kind of looks like a pillow, I guess, more soft, no hard edges, pretty smooth, and pretty, I guess, wobbly, pretty soft, you could say. Yeah, I think I said that multiple times now. Comparing that to a crab, for example, you can see we have very clear plates that have a clear shape that they cannot change. The only thing that changes are the space between these plates move, which enables them to move themselves. They cannot move these plates, they cannot move the shell, they can only move where these plates kind of, I guess, where they're not connected, the gaps in between them. So one thing you can do if you want to make it look more like a full squid arm or like a full tentacle arm, you could maybe look at this part here. Maybe you can see some very sharp edges here, some very sharp bumps. Maybe you can soften them just a little bit so that they look a little bit more squid-like, or more like a little bit smoother. Same here, up here. This one kind of looks like a coral reef, or like a, like a hard shell. I think just kind of smoothing it, maybe creating, you can still keep bumps, but they can't really have sharp edges basically for them to look soft. So that could be one thing you can change to make it look a little bit more like a tentacle. Yeah. I think I want to go to the other images because we have 6 minutes left, so we can at least look at all of them. Let's go to the other one. There you go. So for this one, you have created like this isometric room. I've seen this before, this sort of idea, and I think it can look pretty cool if you want to, for example, recreate your own house, for example, or your own room. Yeah. I like that you've included, I think, this one we've already looked at in probably the first feedback session. This one is probably another 3D pieces you've created, I would guess. I think overall it does what it's supposed to. It kind of keeps this isometric style. It's pretty geometric, sharp corners, very clear axis here. What sort of defines the isometric style is that you have very clear axis. So basically this is just one clear line. It's basically all on a grid right here. Same here. There you go. Same here. So you have all these axes. It looks very geometric, basically. Yeah, I think that works quite well here. One thing that you could maybe do to kind of, I guess, spice it up a little bit. Yeah, faint light beams coming out of the TV. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I would say you could do to spice it up a little bit. I think the lighting is one thing you can do. One thing you can also try is maybe make the background a little bit darker so you can focus on the light a little bit more. If your background is adding a lot of light into the scene, oftentimes it gets hard to see where there are still, like, it's very easy to let the image get washed out. Because if most of the light comes from the outside, everything gets brighter, which means you lose depth, dark shadows basically, and yeah, the image looks a little bit more washed out. One thing you could try, would be, of course, maybe making the image here a little bit brighter, which means you could see maybe some beams coming out of the TV. I think one thing you would have to do to kind of show it a little bit better would be to either use a glare node in the post-processing, what is it called again? The compositor, using a glare node to add some glow around the edges. And then also, if you want to make like if you want to create this very typical sort of box coming out, this light cone coming out of the TV, you would probably have to include a fog cube too. So what you could do is you could add a cube that goes around, or that fills the entire scene right here, and then you just add a volume node to the volume socket. Is it volume? Is it the volume node? Hold on. Shader. Principal volume. You use principal volume to add fog into your scene, and the fog basically hold on. Basically, it lets the light that comes out of the TV sort of appear in midair, because the particles in midair sort of refract and get lit up by the light coming out of the TV. Yeah. And then I guess overall the scene is pretty, I guess, empty, you could say. Maybe you could add some more details here, maybe like a vase or something, maybe like a, I don't know, some like stereo box right here with like a few receivers or whatever. I don't know what your room looks like. Maybe like a lamp right here, just to kind of maybe add another light source to make it a little bit more lit up, naturally lit up, without having to use the surrounding light from the outside. Yeah, maybe a rug, whatever, just to kind of add some more to the scene, to make it look more interesting, so you can, you know, you can you have more in the image that would lead the, I guess, the watcher, the person that looks at it, kind of lead them to I guess explore the image a little bit more. Oh, there's light. What is it illuminating? And then you can see, oh, there's a, I don't know, there's a pattern down here with like a small, I don't know. there are some pieces of paper crumbled together down there. Oh, you can see, hey, there's like the stereo right here, and then you have the, I don't know, a vase right here, and then what kind of plant is there in the vase? Or do we have a dog sitting right here? I don't know. Just a few things to kind of spice up the image and lead or create more opportunities for the viewer to explore the image. Let's say you already have a pretty good one, which is this image. You know, basically, oh, there's an image, looks pretty interesting, let me see what it actually is. And then you have another one right here. I think you can add a few more things to make it look a little bit more inviting or interesting. Okay, last one. We have 28 seconds. Let's go to this one. Looking at the two here. Okay, really quick, let's look at it. So looking at I think the nose structure, you can see here is kind of like this. There you go. Going like this. Oh, it actually copies it, okay. I think what you can do here is you can deepen this part a little bit to create the nose structure that you can see right here. Usually noses don't connect right to the forehead, right here, not to the forehead, but there's like a small indent. That's usually the case. Or at least like a C shape going down and then up again. Which you can see right here, this C shape. For your sculpt, I think right now it kind of goes up and then straight into the forehead. So you can probably deepen it a little bit. Of course, the eyes aren't there yet. You said the cheeks are a little bit too big. I would agree. The cheeks are actually quite small here. There you go. So you can probably remove a little bit here. You can probably remove a little bit more here so that it looks like this. I think the chin is a little bit rounder. Actually, no, maybe not. But maybe you can round them a little bit. Right now it kind of looks like there's like a flat plane here. There's a pretty sharp edge right here. So maybe smoothing them a little bit, make them a little bit rounder can probably help as well. I think you tried to copy the straight line that is right here. Yeah, you could also keep it if you want. Maybe you can try both. Yeah, and then the ear seems to be a little bit smaller. You can see it ends at the nose, which is good. But then it also ends underneath the eye. For you, it actually ends above the eye, between the eyebrow and the eye, which would be right down here. So you could probably move or shrink down the eye, or at least the connection to the head a little bit, maybe to over here, right there, like this. Yeah, make the ears a little bit smaller. Okay, yeah. Those are a few changes you can do here. Okay. Next one. The next person that submitted was Passion. Or, hold on. What was the other name on YouTube? Oh no. I can't remember. I'm too bad at names. Okay, let's go to her or their. Why do I say her? I don't know. To their submission. They made a male head with an OBJ. So let's look at that OBJ and let's do some adjustments there. I've already downloaded it, so I can just import it. Where is it? Oh, OBJ. There it is. There it is. Okay. Why do you always have a cube in your sculpts? Okay. So what do we not need? I guess this one. What is that? I guess that was a previous version. Yeah. Eyes, head, and hair. Eyebrows and hair. Okay. Let's go and create another collection. Duplicate this one. Can we duplicate it? Copy. Paste. Okay, well, just copy, make a new collection, and paste. Perfect. So now we have two collections. We can compare the two afterwards. Okay, so we have the original and then we have the one that we're going to adjust. Let's go to the one that we're going to adjust right here. Okay. So, okay. Let's look at the head. Let me just quickly sit down. I kind of want to be more relaxed right now. Okay, let's continue. So, okay, I like, so what you can see here is the facial structure looks pretty good, in my opinion. I think there are a few changes you can do to improve it. But overall, we could see it in the last submission that you had, and in this one too. Especially comparing it to the first one that you submitted, you definitely worked on the structure of the face, improving that, and you can see that here too. You were able to see that last week or 2 weeks ago. You could see that here too. Okay, let's see what we can improve here. One thing that I see right now is the corner of the mouth. I think the lips overall. Let's go to the lips and do some adjustments. One thing that kind of jumps out to me. Let me enable dynamic topology. Is that too much or is that enough? It seems like it's a little bit more, maybe 40. Okay. Okay. So right now it kind of looks like the lips are pretty shallow. What I mean is, if you look at lips, well, if they open, or at least the corner of the mouth oftentimes, or in real life, is very deep. If you look at my mouth, especially if I smile, you can see how it kind of digs into the cheeks. And even if you're relaxed, it's they're quite deep, just because the lips that you can see, the actual lips, the red part, or the, I guess, redder part of the skin, you could say, is part of the inside of the mouth. It's just turned inside out, basically. So it's basically, for the upper lip, you have the lip right here, and then it turns and moves into the middle of the mouth. It kind of rotates inwards. Like, it goes from facing this way, going inwards, and doing this. If this would be your mouth, like this. It's hard to show. Let me show you what we could do to improve this. First of all, looking at lips, generally speaking, looking at it from the bottom or from down below, they have like a C shape. They have like a they have a nice curve. They're nice and round. I think they're pretty round. I think that's pretty good. Maybe you could round them out a little bit more. Oh, asymmetry. Hold on. There you go. You could maybe round them out a little bit here and there. There you go. I think that works quite well. Let's go to the lips themselves. Let's just define them a little bit more so you can see them right here. So the lips basically point forwards here, and then they move into the corner of the mouth, and then inwards into the mouth. There you go. Do the same for the lower lip. You have a clear line here, and then they move into the mouth, which means you have basically like a pit here on the side. The corner of the mouth, basically. There you go. And if we would bring this a little bit further into the face, like this, you can see it kind of does this. But then if we include a little bit more of this volume here, this fat pad, it could kind of, I guess, bring back some volume here and make it look more. It can keep the deepness, or the, I guess you could say, the depth, not deepness, while still making it look like the lips go into the mouth. So they basically come from here, then move inwards. If the lower lip wouldn't be here, it would kind of look like zip. It's kind of hard to show. Yeah, I don't know how to show it, but yeah, just kind of see how we kind of just moved the corners a little bit deeper, pushed them deeper into the face, and added this volume back in, just to kind of create some depth here. There you go. The next thing we can do to the lower lips, what is pretty important, is the lower lips they're quite smooth. The corner, or the edge right here. The edge of the lips are quite smooth at the bottom. That is because the muscle that is connected to the lip, which are right here. So this is the muscle. It goes down like this. And because the muscle has an outward sort of volume, it kind of transitions to the lips, which means right here we don't have like we don't have an outwards rotation and then it moves into an inwards rotation right here. We actually just have like an outwards rotation that just continues. So what we can do is we can just add a little bit more volume right here, right there, to add the muscle and smooth the lips out a little bit right there. If you want to make it very, very visible, we can even deepen this part and then do this. There you go. Okay, and then we have the this fat pad right here. I'm probably gonna, I guess, strengthen this more than it needs to. Needs to be, just to kind of highlight what I mean. There you go. Okay, maybe a little bit smaller, that's quite big. Okay. So we have a clear sort of transition to the lips here, which means they kind of get smoothed out right there. The upper lips, at least in the middle, are quite sharp. You could maybe say the same for the lower lips right here in the middle at least. And then they transition into the corner of the mouth and they transition into the middle. I mean, into the mouth and get smoother right here. Okay. Then we have the chin. I think the chin looks pretty good. You could, well, talking about aesthetics, the aesthetic, I guess, aesthetically pleasing face, or the beauty face, or the beauty standards when it comes to chins, is that you basically have a line going from, hold on, let me grab my, what could I use? This one? No. Well, probably. We would have a line, we would have a line going from the nose, moving over here, following the lips. It would basically connect to the upper lip, going in this diagonal line downwards. And then you would have the lower lip a little bit further back than the front lip. And then you would have the chin being even further back than the lower lip. Keeping in mind though, that is more subjective, of course, where you can have like a jaw that is further forward than, for example, the upper lip. But if you want to make it, I guess, if you want to make a beautiful man, let's say, you know, according to the beauty standards, we could maybe say, what you would do is you could just move the chin a little bit further back. You could maybe straighten the jaw too, which would, in the same vein, make the corner here a little bit sharper. There you go. You would have the upper lip being the furthest forward. Then you have the lower lip being a little bit further back. And then the last part would be the chin right here. Looking at it from the side, that's what it looks like. There you go. Maybe adding some more depth here with the crease tool. Crease brush. There you go. Okay. Of course, this very clear line is probably not usually there. It's more like that. Smoothed out. There you go. The chin has different shapes, so I'm not going to change that. Looking at the neck, generally speaking, the distance from the end of the jaw, or the bottom of the jaw or the chin, all the way to the bottom of the lip is basically the distance that you have coming from the tip of the chin right here to the beginning of the neck. So looking at the distance is roughly this long. Copying that to here. I think you could maybe move the neck just a little bit further forward. Maybe over here. Right there. then what it looks like, you can look at the Roberto. It moves diagonally backwards. You can see how it kind of moves backwards diagonally. So if you would do that here, it's quite diagonal already. But I think you can add a little bit more of an S curve in here. First of all, this can move further back, which would then bring in the Adam's apple, which could highlight the Adam's apple a little bit more here. And then you have the neck connection to that's basically the mouth here. I think the transition was quite harsh. You can probably smooth it out a little bit to create a more smoother transition here. There you go. Just to kind of ease the neck a little bit. Okay. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to the neck generally, if we look at the shape, you can see the front goes diagonally backwards or inwards into the body. The back silhouette is straight down and then like diagonally outwards. See how it's like straight down or maybe slightly inwards and then outwards. This one is basically just inwards. So if you would copy this to your sculpt, you would have the diagonal line inwards right here. Maybe you could move it forward a little bit. Oh, hello. Just slightly right there. And then you would have the neck. It would move inwards like this. Why is it stretching? You would move inwards like this, and then you would move outwards again because of the muscles right here, the neck muscles. Okay, yeah, there you go. Also, usually these muscles here on the side are pretty, I guess, small, you could say. So they're, you can probably reduce the volume just a little bit to make them look a little bit more natural. They are quite thin, or flat at least. There you go. They're getting quite sharp here at the end where they connect to the bone. Like this. Then you would have the transition to the rest of the body. Looking at the upper body from up top, it looks kind of like an oval. So like this. There you go. And looking at the shape of the neck muscles, it kind of looks like they're attached right here. Oh, why do I always choose the wrong brush? There you go, they're connected right here. And then they go down here on the side, and they actually create like a small gap in between here. They move here to the clavicle bone, I think it's called here, the bone right here, this one, which is right here, and connect to that as well as the shoulder right there. There's a small gap in between here. Right now it kind of looks like the neck muscle connects all the way over here, but there's actually just, as I said, a small gap in between, so we'd have something like this. Move it a little bit. There you go. Okay, and then you have a slight. There's also like a small muscle that goes here to the side that looks like this. So it kind of looks like this. It's kind of exaggerated. It might not be that deep, but that's sort of what it looks like. If you have muscles that go quite high or that are quite diagonal, they also usually bulge upwards. They have like an upwards curve. Right now you can kind of see they're either straight or these ones are more like in an inwards curve. Usually what you would have though is if they have more volume, they would look like this. They have an outwards curve. Or if you would have smaller muscles, they would be a little bit lower and look more like this. They're more horizontal basically. Maybe you can even raise everything a little bit. Shoulders too. There you go. Okay, let's bring back the... Hold on. Bring back the hair. Okay. Let's go to the rest. I like the cheekbone position a little bit further back, just slightly in front of the eyeball, right here. Which means you have some space here for some more fat. Looking at the nose, I think one thing you can look at is the nose shape. Generally speaking, the nose shape is like coming out here. The widest part is back here, and then it goes together like this. It's like let me draw it. Hold on. Can I draw in here? Yeah, I can. Hold on. It's like this. The weight or the thickest part, the curve right here, it's further in this area. What it kind of looks like right now is that you have the weight should be somewhere back here, but it kind of looks like the weight is distributed all the way over to here. You can see how round it is here. I think if you add a sharper curve right here in the back and then make it more straight, it might look a little bit more natural. Let me remove all this. I destroyed the sculpt. What happened? I think yeah. So what you can do is you can just move this more inwards so that there's more volume in the back here, down here. And then you can also make the nose holes more like ovals, and which are facing inwards like this. There you go. You have the nostrils, which kind of are shaped like this, and then you have the nose tip, which moves to the side right here. It kind of fills the space in between the nose bridge and the nostrils. There's this small space right here that needs to be filled because the skeleton hole is right here. So there's a small gap in between that needs to be filled. And what fills it? The nose tip fills that space. So it moves to the side. So you would have a small indent right here. Because it isn't super thick. Well, maybe, maybe like this more. There you go. Okay. Looks a little bit scuffed, but I think this shade looks pretty good. See how it's white here, then it gets thin quite quickly, and then it transitions to the nose tip. We kind of removed the weight from the front to the back. Okay, you make it a little bit thinner here. Okay, yeah, we all only really talked about the lips, the neck, and the nose, but that's all the time we had today. Let's compare the two. So we have the front view from this. Then we have the number 1. Oh, I can't switch. Why? Oh, there it is. So that's version. That's the original. That's the new one. You can see the lip changes. The lips are a little bit thinner or a little bit closer together. You could move them outwards a little bit. You can see the change is basically we've added some more depth to the lips by adding the muscles down here. Also the fat pads on the side. And we defined the lips a little bit more, at least here in the middle. See how much more depth there is now on the side here. See how deep it goes? That's sort of what I mean with depth for the lips. We moved the chin a little bit further back just to kind of create this diagonal line. You could say, well, this works too. This is, you know, some people have a chin that is further forward, like this. So you could argue that you want to keep this. You know, I just changed this as a suggestion. Then we have the neck. First of all, the shape overall, it's more round, more like an oval than this this pizza shape or this, I don't know, boomerang shape or banana shape. We have these muscles are actually quite thin. You can see how they connect to the, maybe we shouldn't, this is not like necessarily a circle. It is more sharp here than it, yeah, looking at some references, you can probably see what I mean. It's not like this very, very clear edge right here. This is quite soft actually, or quite smooth. There are these very clear attachments for these muscles though, that you can see here. And then they move over to the ear, but they're pretty thin. And then you have the neck attachment, which creates this sort of gap here in between, which is still filled by muscles, but they're not as high or as voluminous than the neck muscle. And then we have this V shape that we switched to something flatter, I guess. Yeah. Oh, and the nose, of course, the nose shape changed from this to this. So we made the nose holes a little bit more oval, and we moved the weight of the curve from the entire length more to the back, like this. There you go. Yeah. Okay. I can actually save this and put it in the Google Drive file. I cannot save the grease pencil changes, unfortunately. Maybe I should have should have should have done that in Photoshop so I can save the notes, but now it's too late. I'll do that next time. Let's do the next one. The next one is Lego. Lego posted another piece. He did another shot from his character, with his character. Let's look at it. Nope, hold on. There it is. Nope, there it is. Okay. Of course, I don't think we need to talk about the character in itself. I mean, the, I guess, execution. You can see he spent a lot of time on it, and generally his work is pretty good, so we don't need to, you know, we need to do, we give feedback on a higher level, let's say. So yeah, the character looks very good. I think there are a few things that you can maybe adjust to make the expression a little bit more dynamic, let's say. Of course, if you have a rigged face, that can be quite hard, but I think with some, maybe with some shape keys you could do that, maybe if you have enough geometry. What I mean is, right now it kind of looks like, so it looks like the feeling that you were going for is basically that the sun is shining into her face, and she's sort of squinting to, you know, still look in the direction, but kind of reduce the light that is hitting her eyes. That is the feeling that that's the look that I think you were going for, just because of the very sharp shadows, which usually sun creates sharp shadows there. Yeah, and a very directional light. So if we look at people, let's see if we can find squinting. Let's see if we can find a good reference here. This one's pretty good. Yeah. It's quite subtle, but I think you can still look at it. So looking at this, so what happens when you squint, when you want to look at the sun or you want to reduce the amount of light by squinting, is you actually don't move the upper eyelid down. Maybe a little bit just to kind of, you know, reduce the amount even more. But what you actually do is you move your cheeks upwards. If you look at the muscles in the face, was there an image that showed that? No. Okay. Face muscles. You can see that here. So the muscles that lets you squint are the ones right here, as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong. I think those are the muscles that we use to squint. We have muscles connected to the eyelids right here and down here. No, down there too. Yeah. Really? I think so. At least for the upper eyelid, we have a muscle that connects and wraps around the eyeball to open your eyelid. So if you open your eyelid, the muscle is actually flexed. And to squint, to kind of move your to squint your eyes, you would kind of have to push the volumes or the muscles or the skin, I guess the volume around your eyes kind of into the middle of the eye or to the eye to pull everything closer to the eye, which means you basically, this muscle contracts, which means it gets smaller, which means because it is all around the eye, it shrinks together. So if you would think about like a balloon that loses air, it gets smaller. Welcome back, Zachary. Welcome, Mr. Ghost. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. So what would happen is this muscle would flex, and you would squint. So what would happen is you would move the fat and the cheeks a little bit higher, and they bulge together here at the corner, and maybe even your lower eyes, I mean the upper eyelid, I guess, sinks down too. How that would translate to the actual facial expression is you can see this very clear line here and some lines here in the middle. You can probably see it in where is it? Maybe this one. Let's see, this one maybe. This one. You can see it very clear here. So you can see the eyelid is right there. Then we have some fat piling up right there. And it's kind of bunching up because you push it closer to the eyelid. It's kind of bunching up right here. And then you have some lines right here because this one is closing their eyes, I guess, very strongly. But if you would still keep your eyes open, I think you would still have some of these wrinkles here, especially the ones that you can see here on the nose, because by moving your volume or the volume up here, I mean down here on the cheeks upwards, you also bunch together the fat here on the nose, which creates these wrinkles here too. Looking at some more references here, this one is pretty blurry. Here you can see it too. First of all, the lower eyelid moves up, which means you cover more of the iris with the lower eyelid. You can maybe see even some wrinkles right here, maybe some wrinkles here in the middle. You can see the cheek fat bunches up closer to the eye. Maybe we can, looking at the original image that I showed here, looking at this, you can see this clear line here created by the fat that's being pushed up. Maybe you can even move the corner of the mouth a little bit up, because by moving the volume up or the cheeks up, you also kind of move the skin down here, and you kind of create the smiling face without really wanting to do it. If we look at some squinting faces here, you can see, well, this one maybe not so much, but a lot of them sort of create this the smiling expression without really wanting to do it. This one, for example, this one here too. You could argue, maybe they just want to smile in this, in the image. Yeah, I think the smiling depends on what you want to go for, like a more happy squinting, I guess, or a more, more, I don't know, grumpy smile. I think this one is also pretty good. How kind of your eyes react, or the volume around the eyes react when you either close your eyes or squint them. What happens? It kind of bunches together. You can see these very clear lines here. Also on the nose. A little bit less on this side. But one thing that is very, very apparent is, welcome back, or welcome Mosab. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Welcome, welcome. Do you stream every day? I stream from Monday to Thursday. So today is the last stream for the week. Monday will be the next one. If you want to know when the stream starts, of course you can always subscribe or join the Discord. The link should be in the description, or you can type in !Discord to get the link. Yep. Looking at, what I wanted to look at is, for example, the reference right here. What I always talk about is the position of the iris, or the eyeball in that regard. You can see the iris barely gets covered by the lower eyelid, but gets covered pretty strongly, or at least way more, by the upper eyelid. You can see the upper eyelid actually covers the iris, or parts of it. The lower eyelid only really touches the iris, or the border of the eyelid, or the iris, I mean. Looking at this one here though, or this one, you can see that actually even the lower eyelid covers quite a lot of the iris, which means the lower eyelid gets moved upwards, which creates the squinting look too. See here too how much the lower eyelid covers the iris. Looking at your image, you can see that still here the iris, it doesn't really, it gets covered slightly by the lower eyelid, but way more by the upper eyelid. So it looks a little bit more sleepy right now. You could argue, well, maybe she's looking upwards, maybe in this direction here. So the sun is maybe up here somewhere. Oh no. Hold on, there it is. But I think even then, just bringing the fat that is right here, or bringing some wrinkles in here, maybe some more volume up here, can probably help make it look more like squinting, if you're going for that. That's sort of my theory right now. I think they can help in making this look more like squinting, rather than being, I guess, tired or sleepy. That's sort of what it looks like right now. Like, you know, kind of, if you're relaxing, you're thinking about how you relax the muscles of the face. We talked about how when you open your eyes, the muscle that is controlling the eyelid, pulling it back or not pulling it, basically, it is flexed when you open your eye like this, and it is relaxed when you do nothing. When you close them, then it's relaxed, which means if you look tired, or if you're tired, you relax the muscles in your face, also the muscle for your eyelid, which means you would kind of look like this, you know, kind of look like, hold on, the upper eyelid are very low, covering most of your irises, your iris, which looks like this. The other iris, I mean the lower eyelid, doesn't really move that much. If you look at the movement of the eyelids, the eyelid that moves the most is basically only the upper eyelid. The lower eyelid doesn't really move. So if we look at some references here, let's see if we can find something. Blinking slow-mo. Let's see if we could find something. Wobble. I don't want to see wobbles. Blink of an eye. There it is. Look at how it blinks. See how the lower eyelid basically doesn't move, but the upper eyelid moves all the way down to the lower eyelid. Maybe you can see it kind of pulls itself together a little bit. You can see how it kind of flexes here in the middle, but you can see it moves all the way down here. Theoretically, if both would move, they would probably meet here in the middle somewhere. But you can see how how it slides all the way down here. Which is why when you look tired, the lower eyelid is basically halfway over the iris, but the lower eyelid doesn't really move. And then of course, once you open it again, yeah, it looks like this. There you go. Okay, yeah, that's one thing that kind of that you could try. I don't know if you have enough geometry to really add some wrinkles here. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe you could just add, you know, kind of move the volume that is right here, maybe just a little bit up. Maybe you could even yeah, kind of very slightly move the corner of the mouth a little bit higher, move this a little bit up, just kind of, you know, move everything just a little bit closer to the eyes, and maybe open the upper eyelid a little bit, just a little bit, so you can move the lower eyelid a little bit higher. Maybe you don't even need to move the upper eyelid. Maybe you can even just leave the upper eyelid and just only move the lower eyelid. Let me see what that looks like. Actually, I'm curious. Let's see. So let me just separate the eye. There you go. Okay. Let's go to the eye. And what I want to do is I want to go... Oh. I want to move the lower eyelid a little bit higher. Maybe even just doing that change can help. Oh, spooky. Looking at the references, yeah. Yeah, I think that can help too. Just kind of moving the lower eyelid a little bit higher, just to kind of create that squinting look. I don't really have that before. Hold on. There you go. So looking at before and after. This is before. This is after. Let me just quickly... Well, that's annoying. Well, hold on. There you go. So this is after, this is before. See how just kind of the small movement can help sell this sort of squinting look. You could maybe, if you wanted to, maybe even... Let's see if that works too. I don't know if we can do that with the liquify filter. Let me actually do it in one go. So what we could try is we could maybe move all this up. Just slightly like this. Do the same on the other side. Okay. Okay, that looks kind of weird. But I think it still sort of sells the look. It's maybe a little bit too much. Oh. But I think you get what I mean. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the shot, of course, it was supposed to be a little bit more artsy, a little bit more creative, let's say. I don't know. I'm not really like a photo expert, so I can't really say too much about the composition or whatever. That is just something that kind of jumped out to me. Yeah. Other than that, I think looks pretty good. I don't have anything else to critique. Yeah. This actually reminds me of one of my old photos. Hold on, let me, or one of my old, what is it? Projects. It was somewhere here. I wanted to practice hair, but I also wanted to practice sculpting like faces, which led me to this dude. Hold on, let me look at the other one, this one here. And then I wanted to use him for hair. I also wanted to do some more artsy shots with him, so I did this one, for example, inspired by some Pinterest images that I found. And then another one here, this one. You know, that's kind of what it reminded me of. Yeah, but I think I don't really have anything else I could, yeah, I think that's the only real thing that I kind of see right now. Okay, yep. I'm gonna save that too. Okay. Saves. Okay, there you go. Back to Blender. I think we have two more. We have Zach. I think Zach's the next one. Yep, Zach is the next one. Oh, Zach is actually the last one. Okay. Zach is the last submission, the last person that submitted a piece. Let's go into his piece. So he also submitted a character. There you go. And it looks like this. There you go. Okay. One thing that immediately jumped out to me is that the background looks really, really good. At least in terms of like photorealism, I guess you could say. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like a, you know, maybe you've just applied a texture to the background and, you know, it looks really, really good. I don't know what it is, but it looks really, really good. But I don't want to talk about the background. I think it's pretty evident what you want to get feedback on. Yeah. So let's look at the character. Okay. So the first thing that jumped out to me, I think, just generally, I think I want to focus more on the character in itself than the clothing. But one thing that I always like to point out when it comes to clothing is the importance of seam lines. Seam lines are because clothing is basically separated, or clothing is basically just made out of different pieces that you then sew together to create a piece of clothing. So you would have a sleeve, would just be like a flat plane, which then gets wrapped around the arm and then sewn together down here. You would have for the upper body, you would have a piece of fabric for the front, a piece of fabric for the back, and then they get sewn together here on the shoulders and on the sides here. Yeah, that would be for a t-shirt. So doing that here, you would have if you would kind of add some seam lines to this to make the fabric here look a little bit more natural or a little bit more realistic. You could add one here to the side. You could argue maybe it's behind this. Maybe there is even one right here. Maybe I just didn't see it. If there is a line, good. Good job. If not, you can maybe add a line right here on the shoulders or on the neck right here. You can probably also add one here in the middle, because usually if you want to finish a piece of fabric, what you would do to strengthen the edge, because if you would just cut it off, all the fibers of the fabric would just kind of poke out, and it is very easily to fringe or to kind of create or break the edge of a piece of fabric. Excuse me. By just kind of, touching it or whatever, it would just kind of fizzle out and kind of go in all directions over time. So what you would usually do is you would take the edge, the ending, and you would wrap it around and then sew it together like this, which means the edge of the fabric is not the ending of the fabric, but more like a curve, and it curves inwards and then gets sewn together right here. So which would mean that you would have here the fabric going into the middle, then it would basically turn around and sewn together here. So we have a very, very strong edge right here, and it gets sewn together, and you would have a seam line somewhere over here. You would do the same on this side. Seam lines you could add, for example, by they don't need to be that far away. You can also bring them closer to the edge, depending on what kind of fabric it is. I think the best thing to do would be to look at some references here. There you go. Well, I don't remember what I wanted to say. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, you could, I think for the color, you can do the same. Adding a seam line right here can probably help. There you go. Overall, in general, I think you can maybe look into how the fabric folds when someone's wearing it, especially in the armpit. What happens oftentimes is that because generally a t-shirt is built or it's sewn together in a way where it kind of is in this T pose. That's basically the neutral position of any piece of clothing. But if you wear it, you drag the cloth that is right here, you drag it down, which means there's some bunching up of fabric here, which means you have some folds that go in this direction and then in this direction too. So maybe to make the cloth look a little bit more natural, you could add some folds right here too. I think, again, looking at some references here can help a lot to improve the realism of the cloth. I think the textures are pretty good. I think this is a more of a rough texture. You could maybe, scale it down a little bit or up, I guess, in the node to make the fabric a little bit finer. If you want to do that, maybe it's supposed to be pretty rough. But yeah, that would be one thing you could do. Here, I think the same. The edge looks pretty sharp right now. Looking at generally at the edge, as we said, it's kind of a curve because it curves inwards and then gets sewn together. I think by just smoothing the edge right here, it could make it look a little bit more realistic. Of course, it's kind of hard to do that with just you probably just used you modeled this, maybe polymodeling, and then you use the solidify modifier to create make it solid. Maybe you could use a subdivision modifier just to kind of soften or smooth the edge. I think that could help. let's go to the character now. There you go. Yeah. Let's mark this. There you go. Okay. One thing that kind of jumps out to me are the eyes. Generally speaking, if we look at the nose right now, it's roughly this wide. There you go. The eyes end here and here. In terms of human proportions, the standard is that the inner corner of the eye generally starts where the nose ends, basically where the nostril is the widest. That's where the inner corner of the eye starts, which would mean that if we take a line and we draw it upwards, a vertical line, here would be the beginning of the corner of the eye. Same on this side. Oh, I guess that is straight up. Yeah, just kind of moving them, maybe the corner a little bit more into the middle can make it look a little bit more natural. Of course, you could say, well, this is the character. The character is supposed to look like this. When I do these correct, or when I give feedback, of course, I'm talking about the, I guess, general guidelines. If you're, creating a character, oftentimes what you do is you change the proportions a little bit to give the character characteristics that make them unique. But of course, what I say here is not like you have to do it. It's just a suggestion. Okay. The next thing I think that kind of jumps out to me are the lips. Just because maybe they're a little bit thin right now. Or like they're... Do you say thin to that? I think thin, right? They are quite... Like the length from here to here is not that long. Maybe by making them a little bit wider, they might look a little bit more natural. Looking at some references here, well, this one, maybe. Let's look at some other ones. Here, for example, oftentimes what I see is that either the corner of the mouth sort of ends somewhere in the middle of the iris or a little bit closer together, or at least it touches the iris. So if we move up here, you can see... Oh, actually not. It's kind of hard to find a good guideline for the width of the mouth, I've found. So if you look at some other references here. For this one, for example, you can see the corner of the eye is somewhere at the inner edge of the iris. If we look at some more here, let's look at, I don't know, face. There you go. This is probably the most standard face ever. You can see here, corner of the mouth, somewhere inside of the iris. If we would draw a vertical line upwards, going to this one here. Same here. Going to this one. He has quite wide lips. He even goes very far into the outer regions of the iris. Let's see if we can find someone with some thinner lips. He, for example, moving upwards. The lips are always wider than the nose. And then even these ones connect to the iris. Let's see if we can find a few more here. They all smile. That's not good references. Let's see, what if we look for small lips? Small kind of sounds weird, but problem is we can't see the we can't see the full face. So we can't compare it to the iris. This one maybe. Yeah, these ones are quite thin. Yeah, it's kind of hard to really find a good reference for how wide lips should be. See here, these ones are quite thin too. I guess the only real reference you could say is that they're at least wider than the nostrils, I guess, which is the case here. So, I don't really think you need to do much there. If you want to, you can maybe make them a little bit wider. But that's more preference, I guess. Let's just, I guess, mark it. There you go. Okay. Oh, one thing that I actually just see right here. Regarding the eye shape, we talked about it before. The lower eyelid covers or touches the iris. Let's look at some references. The lower eyelid touches the iris or covers it slightly. You can see it right here. Wait. Now you can see it right here. Oh, you couldn't see the mouth at all, right? Okay, here you can see. Yeah, there wasn't really anything to see. You can just see how wide different mouths are. Sometimes they're somewhere, if you draw a vertical line upwards, they're in the iris somewhere. Sometimes they're not. I don't think you can really make a good guideline there. But looking at the eye now, you can see the lower eyelid slightly covers the iris. The upper eyelid covers it more. Looking at some more here, slightly touches the iris, covers it a little bit more. This one, of course, she's looking in a different direction, so it's a little bit different. This one touches the iris at the bottom, covers it at the top, even if it's just slightly. For him, it slightly covers it more at the top though. For him, slightly touches it at the bottom, covers it at the top. So what you could try is, I think the upper eyelid already covers the iris quite well. I think you can just move the lower eyelid a little bit higher. So maybe like this. There you go. I think that can help. Just by moving this here up to this height to touch the iris, I think they can make it look a little bit more natural. Yep. Talking about the eyebrows, I think you can have eyebrows that are quite wide apart. Looking at some references here. This one, for example, these are quite wide apart. Where the corner of the eye is basically where the eyebrow starts. Looking at some other ones here. These ones are pretty similar. These ones too. So I don't think the width in between them is necessarily too wide. You could argue when you move the corner of the eye a little bit closer into the middle, so that they're on the same height as the nostril width. You could say then they might be a little bit too far apart. Yeah. One thing you could maybe think about is the structure of the eyebrow though. Looking at some references here. This one I think is pretty close to this one here. It's quite just like a C shape or like a curve upwards. Same here. Of course we don't have a side view, so it'll be a little bit harder to sort of see if that is something you can adjust, or just, you know, if it already looks correct or is correct because of the perspective that we have here. Generally speaking, of course the eyebrow shape is something like this. And the reason for that is that there's, I guess, it's hard to explain. There's like a plane shift here for the face. You have this part of the surface that sort of faces forwards to us, but then this part of the face faces to the side. So you have a clear plane shift here. There's an edge right here, which also means because the eyebrow goes over that edge, it creates a clear sort of angle right here, especially when you look at it from the front. For this one, for example, you can see the edge, the plane shift is somewhere over here, which means you can create this sort of downwards tilt. Looking at this one, same. Here's the edge, which means you have this clear downwards trend right here. Of course, the eyebrows follow the surface because they're attached to the surface, or they're, I guess, buried in the surface, which means they sort of follow the plane shift. which you can see here. So it doesn't actually move necessarily downwards, it moves backwards. Face 3/4. Is it? Let's see if we can find a good image here. This one maybe? It's hard to see. This one. Looking at it, you can see the plane shift is somewhere over here because the eyebrow moves upwards, but then it moves downwards again because of the plane shift. That is basically what I mean. So it could be that the eyelids, the eyebrows are okay, but maybe it could also be that they are a little bit too straight, I guess. It's hard to really say. One thing you can always look at to determine if the eyebrows are wide enough is if you take a line from the middle of the mouth going to the nostril and just drawing a line from the middle of the mouth to the outer part of the nostril, the widest part of the nostril, drawing it like this. It should basically touch or get close to the eye, which it does, and then it also basically determines the ending of the eyebrow, which is pretty good. You can see right here, it fits quite well. So maybe you don't necessarily need to change the eyebrows. You could argue that they could be thicker, but that's probably more aesthetics. It's kind of your choice. One thing that sort of I see is the texture that you've applied or that you've created. I think what you wanted to do is, of course, add a little bit more variation to the skin, which means, of course, that it looks more natural. If the skin would be a perfect shade everywhere, it wouldn't look natural. So if you added some darker spots, some lighter spots, what it kind of looks like right now is that she's kind of a little bit dirty on the nose. You have these darker, less saturated and more brownish shades or colors. Same here on the lips, which kind of looks like I don't know, she ate something very furiously, or I don't know, it just looks a little bit dirty. Maybe that was what you were going for, or maybe it can help to make these brown colors, bring them a little bit closer to the original skin tone. I think what you've also added, which I think is very good, is the face colors, or the face tone changes basically in the face. How the tones or the colors in the face change according to the regions of the face. You have a different color on the forehead than you have in this area on the cheeks, than you have on the mouth. The mouth area, I think, is sort of greenish yellow. The cheek area is sort of reddish, and then the upper area, I think, is sort of bluish. Let me see if I can find a good reference, the one that I think of right now. Oh, I think I still have it. I think it's just face colors. There it is. I mean, this one. Or maybe even this one. This one is extra texture painting. You can see how there's more red here on the cheeks. There's more blue here on the around the lips and the lower jaw, and then there's more yellow at the top. More yellow basically means you can see more of the bones. You can, of course, see, well, the forehead doesn't really have a lot of muscles, doesn't really have a lot of fat. It's more that you can see the bone. The bone is pretty close to the surface, so you can see more yellow. And then here, around here, you can see the nose is basically just tissue, which means it's pretty red. It's filled with blood, which means it's pretty red. You have more fat here on the cheeks, which means the overall area here is more reddish. The blue, I actually don't really know why it's more blue in this area. Maybe it's just because that there's less circulation down here. Maybe it's because, especially for male, like for male characters, that they have a beard, which sort of colors, or because of its darker color, more brownish color, maybe it turns it more it removes the saturation a little bit and makes it more, I guess, greenish maybe. I don't really know why, but that's what it sort of looks like. Yellow up here, red here, and then greenish down there. I think you actually included that a little bit. You can see there's a little bit more yellow, a few more yellow tones down here. And maybe what you could do is maybe just add a little bit more red in this area. Maybe clean the brown parts a little bit. Of course, if you wanted to go for that, then that's good. I don't want to say, if that was your decision, then of course. If that was what you wanted, then you don't need to change it. But seam lines to make the clothing look a little bit more realistic. Not the width of the nostril equals the beginning of the corner of the eye, or if you wanted to make it to look like this, then you can keep them there. Bring the lower eyelid a little bit higher so that they touch the iris down here. And maybe you can make the lips a little bit wider if you want to. And then of course, if you want to make, I don't know, clean the texture, it looks a little bit dirtier on the nose. If you want to go for that, of course, that's your choice. Yep. That's all that we're going to do today. The time is over. I hope these tips and tricks were helpful. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you knew everything that I said. Either way, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Of course, next week we're going to do the Halloween special. We're going to do a Halloween character the full next week. And I'm going to post a poll what it will be, where you can vote in the Discord, and probably on YouTube too, on my videos channel, if you want to vote there. And yeah, thank you for joining. If you want to see some videos, of course, you can go over to the videos channel. The link should be in the description. Yeah, but either way, hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you enjoy the weekend. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, chatting, or just being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Maybe I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.